Hey truckers, today we're seeing part 11 of From Enemies to Lovers, a hidden marriage story. Let's dive into the video. What? Priceless treasure? Are you kidding me? Ying Fonglin yelled at him. Jin Xuanxuan's expression changed and he stopped her. What nonsense are you talking about? The one who's talking is Elder Shi. Who's Elder Shi? Ying Fonglin asked, confused. He's from the family that trades jades and gemstones. The one and only Shi Boi. Jin Xianxian reminded her exasperatedly. Ah, so that's who he is, but it's impossible. When we were gossiping with Ning Xuelua over tea the last time, she mentioned that she bought a $150,000 jade as a present. Did I hear wrongly? No, she did say that the last time, but Elder Shi can't be wrong. That'd be blasphemy. As she heard Shi Boi's declaration and the heated discussion between Ying Fonglin and Jin Xianxian, there was a slight displeasure in Ning Xuelua's expression, but she still remained calm. She was sure that she had heard that Ning Shi bought the bracelet for $150,000. How could that be wrong? Although Shi Boi was respectable and had been assessing jades for his whole life, could he have made a mistake this time? Actually, not many people present that night knew much about jade. Ning Xuelua's friends were just making passing comments earlier, and some people started to echo along as they saw her friend speaking so confidently about it. However, now that Elder Shi had declared it to be a priceless treasure, everyone was not sure who to listen to. Even Ning Ziyuan was confused. Although he was just a hobbyist and was not as skillful as Shi Boi at assessing jade, he did know a thing or two about precious stones. Ning Shi's jade was alright, but it sure did not look like something as exaggerated as a priceless treasure. Get latest double CHDers on nvelbj/n.c/m. Ning Ziyuan had a lot of questions in his mind. Elder Shi, what do you mean? What priceless treasure? Shi Boi dared not to jump to conclusions, so he spoke up. Ziyuan, do you mind letting me take a look at the bracelet? Ning Ziyuan handed it over. After looking at it for some time, he took out a magnifying glass from his shirt pocket and stared at one of the beads with clear excitement. What actually do you see? Ning Ziyuan asked impatiently. The bystanders looked on curiously as well, discussing and not believing for a minute that this jade was a priceless treasure. It must have been a mistake on Shi Boi's part due to his old age. Ning Shi, are you sure the jade is fine? Ning Tianqin asked, still worried that Ning Xuelua had done something to it. Ning Shi shrugged innocently. I can guarantee that when I bought it, it was still fine. Could Jade Treasury have possibly given her some flawed jade? The worker who had served her much later looked really kind. Had he been bribed by Su Yimo? Ning Shi started raising her own suspicions. In the end, when Shi Boi was done assessing, he suddenly took off a jade bead bracelet from his wrist and showed it to Ning Ziyuan. Ziyuan, what do you think of my bracelet? Ning Ziyuan flew into a jealous rage. You old fellow, that's enough. Isn't that the bracelet your grandchild got you? Is it not enough after showing it off 800 times? Ning Ziyuan's words made his friends laugh. Get the latest CHDers on n/velbin.com. You're being annoying here, Elder Shi, you've been telling everyone you meet. Your grandson gave it to you and he begged Master Xian Jing for consecration for a few months. Our ears are tired from listening to you talk about how filial your grandson is. You know that Elder Ning really respected Master Xian Jing and he tried to ask for a consecration before but was rejected. Stop showing off in front of him. Ha 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 ha, it's Elder Ning's birthday today, stop provoking him. Is it really rare to have this Master Xian Jing to consecrate a bracelet? A person from the crowd asked after listening to the discussion. Shi Boyi put on a serious expression and answered, "Of course, Master Xian Jing is a genuine, eminent monk and he doesn't do consecrations for just anyone. It doesn't matter how much money you give, no means no. It's all about being sincere and most importantly, having an affinity. Such a bracelet is super rare. Isn't that what you call a priceless treasure?" Master Xian Jing kept a low profile, so not many people knew about him, but for those who did gave their respect to him from the bottoms of their heart. "It's really rare. I heard from someone I knew who has gone there personally and failed. Put sincerity aside, having an affinity is really difficult, it's such a vague concept. How does one even qualify as having affinity?" "Exactly, it's rare because of how difficult it is. Why do you think Elder Shi was showing off for so long? He almost made it into his family treasure. Most importantly, it really has spiritual powers within it. He was so sick before. Wait, why did Elder Shi suddenly talk about this? Weren't we looking at Elder Ning's bracelet?" With some small pockets of discussion still going on, Shi Boyi looked at Ning Shi's bracelet for some time again before he returned it to Ning Ziyuan. Then he turned to Ning Shi and asked, "Little girl, you must have invested in a lot of effort to get this jade bead bracelet consecrated, didn't you?" What Shi Boyi meant was this bracelet consecrated by Xian Jing as well? How was this possible? It was so difficult to obtain. Just what in the world did this yokel do? Ning Shi was speechless. She had no idea what just happened. Was this old man sure that the bracelet she had bought was worthy of such high praises? Would he believe her if she said she just spent $150,000 for this in jade treasury and that she did not know Master Xian Jing? Ying Fonglin was mumbling to Ning Xuelua, "It was just a minor consecration by some monk, is it really that surprising? To the point of calling it a priceless treasure?" Ning Xuelua bit her lip and shook her head. "Fonglin, don't say that, grandfather is really respectful towards Master Xian Jing." This was the reason why the elder did not care about what Long Fanning said before, while Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu trusted him so blindly. The elder did not trust Long Fanning. So, even though she felt sour, she dared not say anything because Elder Ning really respected Master Xian Jing. Otherwise, she would be indirectly insulting Elder Ning. Ying Fonglin could not bear to see Ning Xuelua like this. "Xuelua, why are you so easily bullied? I'll get even for you." Ning Xuelua had successfully tricked Ying Fonglin to help her. She even made a pitiful face, and Ying Fonglin did not use much of her brain and bought her act. In a situation like this, it would not have been appropriate for either Zhuang Lingyu or Ning Yaohua to speak up, but an outsider like Ying Fonglin was perfect for the role. Ying Fonglin started talking, "Even if it was consecrated by Master Jing Xian, can't you get a better bracelet? Don't you think it's inappropriate for the elder to wear something that cheap?" Shi Boyi could not hold it in anymore. He did not wanted to argue with the youngsters, but things were getting out of hand. "Little girl, is this bracelet not good enough? If you're talking about price, I can tell you that this is much more expensive than the one Xuelua gave." "What?" Xuelua's bracelet cost about $2 million. Ying Fonglin exclaimed, her eyes wide. Even Ning Xuelua and Jin Xianxian were surprised, not to mention Zhuang Lingyu and Ning Yaohua. The first thing that came to their mind was, how in the world did she have so much money? "This is impossible." Shi Boyi explained calmly, "This bracelet is made out of high-quality jadeite, and what makes it rare is the fact that all the beads are from the same source, plus the color is balanced perfectly as well. Of course, it would cost more than the other." Ying Fonglin frowned and raised his doubts. "Elder Shi, are you sure you're not mistaken about this?" Without waiting for Shi Boyi's reaction, Ning Ziyuan spoke up unhappily, "Don't be ridiculous, little girl. How could Elder Shi be wrong about this? Xiao Shi's bracelet is more expensive." He was trying not to embarrass Ning Xuelua earlier, so he had kept quiet about it. Who knew that these ignorant brats would start rattling nonsense and he had to explain it vocally. Even Elder Ning had already said something about it, so now everyone just had to believe it. That was unexpected. The adopted daughter's present is more expensive than Ms. Ning's. How shocking! That's awkward. They got the same present but hers lost in every aspect by comparison to the adopted daughter's present. Well, it seems like we've underestimated this girl. She has changed so much over the past 5 years. I've been wanting to ask since earlier. Is she really the girl from before? I almost couldn't recognize her. She looks really pretty now. Right. She didn't even look presentable even with gorgeous dresses the last time, but now she has such a special aura around her now. Ning Xueluo's face darkened instantly. Not only was Ningxi's bracelet consecrated by Master Xian Jing, it was even more expensive than hers. How was this possible? The few artistes told her that they had seen Ningxi buy a jade bead bracelet costing slightly over just $100,000. What happened here? Damn it, she had invested so much effort into this, yet in the end, she was the one who was embarrassed. Not only did she lose in terms of the sincerity and value of the present, but she had also helped Ningxi to shine in the limelight. Up.dfrm no/v/e/lb/i n.co/m. Shi Boi patted Ning Ziyuan's back. Ziyuan, you're really blessed. No wonder you wanted to adopt her, she's really a good kid. Most importantly, she was able to ask for a consecration from Master Xian Jing, a blessing indeed. Right, Ziyuan, how old is your granddaughter now? What's her zodiac sign? She should be around the same age as my grandson, yes? Ning Ziyuan held the jade bead bracelet dearly. When he heard what Shi Boi said, he said guardedly, "Old man, what are you trying to do? What are you plotting for my granddaughter? Adopted? She was his real granddaughter. You old man, how is that plotting? My grandson is handsome and filial, I wouldn't even have thought about it if your granddaughter wasn't pretty and lacked affinity." Humph, only now you realize that my granddaughter is pretty. Not everyone is worthy of her, show me your grandson's picture first. He had actually met Shi Boi's grandson a few years ago, but who knew how he looked like now? It might be you who's plotting something after you see his picture. Ningxi groaned, ugh. Why did conversations always go the other way? Did the elders always have such active thought patterns? Probably not. 80% of the time when elder people gathered together, their conversations would end up with this topic. Wait, that was not the main point. What happened to her $150,000 bracelet which she had got with a 20% discount and was now valued as a $2 million bracelet that was consecrated by Master Xian Jing? Jade Treasury. The sudden change in the worker's attitude. Could it be? How about it, Elder Ning? Isn't my Shiqing handsome? Shi Boi said proudly. Ning Ziyuan's eyes brightened when he saw the handsome gentleman's picture. Pictures nowadays can be photoshopped, it's not good enough as proof. Shi Boi was annoyed. Hey, old man, if you don't believe me, I'll bring him here personally the next time and you can see for yourself, okay? That sounds about right. Just in a blink of an eye, Ningxi was set up for a blind date. What's the situation right now? Grandfather, please calm down, She looked helplessly at both the elders chatting happily, totally ignoring her. Ning Tianxin laughed looking at Ningxi's expression. Actually, Elder Shi's grandson is a pretty nice person, you should meet him. Ningxi put her hand to her forehead. I'm not in the mood for this right now. A worried thought passed through Ning Tianxin's mind. Xiao Shi, could it be possible that you still haven't gotten over Su Yan? Speaking of the devil, a maid suddenly came rushing in and reported, "Master, your son-in-law is here." Everyone turned around and looked towards the entrance. Son-in-law? Who? Who else? The only one who's engaged in the Ning family right now is Ning Xuelua. Of course, it's Su Yan from the Su family. A man in a black outfit walked in with an assistant holding a rectangular box behind him. As soon as they saw him, Fang Yinglin said, "Xuelua, your husband's here, quickly go greet him." "Stop saying that, he's not my husband yet." Seeing the charming man in front of him, Ning Xuelua's heart raced quickly, all her unhappy thoughts about what happened earlier instantly vanishing. Jing Xianxian went along with Fang Yinglin as well. "You've already agreed to his proposal, haven't you?" Fang Yinglin kept on staring at him. Oh my, Su Yan's becoming more and more handsome. Ning Xuelua blushed, then walked towards Su Yan elegantly. "Bro Su, you're here." Su Yan held the girl's tender hands gently. They smiled and looked at each other lovingly, then walked towards Ning Ziyuan together. He wore a black suit and she wore a white long dress, a perfect match for each other. They immediately became the focus of those in the banquet hall. Zhuang Lingyu and Ning Yaohua had a relieved expression on their faces. Elder Ning was proud of his grandson-in-law and he greeted him with a kind smile. "Su Yan, you're here." In the previous years, the Su family had not allowed Su Yan to be in a relationship with Ning Shi due to her infamous identity. Although she had gone back to the Ning family after that, there was no announcement of her real identity to the public. Ning Shi had been dating Su Yan in secret until she fell pregnant. As she could not hide it anymore, she told her family about her relationship with Su Yan. At that time, Su Yan was out of contactable range as he was abroad. Zhuang Lingyu did not believe her and forced her to stay at home, and she warned her not to let anyone know about her pregnancy before Su Yan came back. So, until now the elder never knew Ning Shi had been pregnant before. Ning International was not very stable, so the elder did not have much time at home. What he knew was that Ning Shi had been sent overseas for education after she had recovered from some illness. Then, Su Yan, who had been visiting their home frequently, had started dating Ning Xuelua. "Grandfather, happy birthday!" Su Yan took the rectangle box from his assistant and handed it to the elder. The elder smiled while nodding. "Good." Su Yan gave the elder a famous priceless scroll painting. It was not just Ning Shi's jade bead bracelet, but all the presents looked practically worthless compared to his, and everyone gushed over it. The Ning family sure is generous. Just a simple birthday gift, but they gave a priceless antique. With the Su family's power, they can definitely find someone from a better family, but why are they so fixated on Ning Xuelua? Let me tell you, it was said that Master Long assessed their birthdays before and concluded Ms. Ning has the fortune to make her husband prosper, and many suitors came to them, but she had already picked Su Yan. "Ah, I know about Master Long. I heard he's really good. Actually, I've been wanting to ask since just now, who's this Master Xian Jing they have been talking about? I've never heard of him. Isn't Long Fanning the most reputable one in the industry?" "Of course, it's Long Fanning. The elders simply trust those temples and monks more, they are just too old-fashioned. The real experts are among us." Ning Tianxin felt nervous as she saw Su Yan. From her keen observation, she had already found out about Ning Shi and Su Yan long ago, and she was worried about Ning Shi. As she was about to comfort Ning Shi, Su Yan and Ning Xuelua walked towards them. Su Yan looked at Ning Shi and smiled. "You're here too, Xiao Shi. Grandfather must be very happy." Ning Shi nodded expressionlessly. "How are you recently?" Su Yan asked in a concerned tone. "Still all right. Xiao Shi, let's meet up when you have some free time. Up to TED Chapters NN Velben.com As Su Yan wanted to continue, Zhuang Lingyu rushed towards them. She had seen Ningxi talking to Su Yan and she desperately wanted to separate them. Shuelua, Su Yan, I've been looking for you everywhere. Go and welcome the guests. Okay, mother. Sister, please excuse me. Ning Shuelua gave Ningxi a smug glance after her mother covered for her. The banquet hall was getting crowded as more guests arrived and Ningxi recognized some of them. The lady who was chatting with Ning Shuelua intimately at that moment was Li Yueling, whom Ningxi met at the audition in Las Vegas. The one beside her should be her mother, the president of Ling Horizon Fashion, Guo Hui. Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu were welcoming her warmly. Despite the constant flow of guests, Ning Shuelua was able to chat up with almost all of them. The guests looked at Ning Shuelua in a different light, awed by her. This girl is really something, she has such a wide connection despite her young age. Sigh, it's really frustrating when I compare my kid at home with her. She always dreamed about being a star, but after spending so much money, there isn't even a shadow of her on screen. Unlike Ning Shuelua with her own business and her own company. A servant who was serving guests outside suddenly came rushing in and panted, "Master, outside, outside." Ning Yaohua asked sternly, "What's happened outside? Do you know how inappropriate it is for you to freak out in front of the guests?" The servant continued worriedly, "No, master. There are important guests. Very important guests." Ning Yaohua was still unhappy. "Who is it that made you freak out?" With the Ning family's position, the servant did not need to freak out even if the guests were from a renowned family. In the corner, Ningxi was curious of the servant's expression. Who did Ning Shuelua involve herself with this time? The servant explained, "Just now, there was a car stopped in front of the entrance, but no one came out of the car. It was just parked there, so I paid it no mind, but the car looked really prestigious. Then, I checked the number plate and it seems like it's a car from the Liu family." Upon hearing the servant, Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu were concerned. "What? Liu family? Which Liu family?" The servant trembled, Liu Corporation." Ningxi spurted out her fruit juice. "What? Get the latest chapters on n/velben.com. Liu Corporation? Could it be Liu Tingxiao? It could not be. Why would the devil be here? Sis Xin, I'll excuse myself to make a phone call first." Ningxi was still worried as she went outside to give Liu Tingxiao a call. The phone call was picked up after ringing only once and a man's deep voice came through, "Hey." It was quiet on the other side of the phone and she could not determine where he was. Ningxi gulped and asked, "Hey, Liu Tingxiao, where are you right now?" "At the entrance of the Ning residence." Ningxi was annoyed. "What are you doing? Why are you here?" "Because you didn't come back. Little Treasure was crying for you." Her hard features softened when she heard about her baby Little Treasure. "Ah, I'm really sorry, I didn't expect to stay here for so long either, but I'm going to be done soon and I'll be back as quick as I can." We'll wait for you." Ningxi was speechless. She actually meant for him to go back with Little Treasure first. What if something happened and she had to stay longer? As she was thinking of how to persuade them to leave first, there was a noise from the other end of the line, like the phone was being passed, and a weak voice came through this time, "Sister-in-law, I was almost frozen to icicles by this two cold people while waiting for you. When will you be done? Please come back soon." Lu Jingli was here as well? Ugh. Ningxi was utterly speechless. Why did all of them come together? As Ningxi was speaking to Liu Tingxiao, Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Yaobang were on their way to the entrance. Because the servant caused quite a scene and drew the attention of some of the guests, they looked outside and guessed, "Who's here? What's with the commotion? Ning Yaohua is going to welcome them personally." Even Ning Yaobang followed along. "I heard that it's someone from the Liu family." "The Liu family? You must be kidding." It was as if the emperor himself was visiting an officer's home suddenly and staying for dinner. It was impossible. "I don't think it's possible as well, but I heard the servant from Ning family say it himself. There's a car with the Liu family's number plate parked outside. Could he be mistaken?" EUW levels up Tez on NOV/L/B .com. It might be true, but although it's a car from the Liu family, who knows if the head honcho actually came? It's quite impossible. They might have just sent someone over to leave a gift for the elder. That's the best possibility I can come up with. That makes sense. If they are somewhat involved, the Ning family really is something. What makes them deserve such luck? Could it be that Master Long's prediction is really true? At the Ning residence entrance. "Where are the people you were talking about?" Ning Yaohua asked the servant nervously. "Still in the car," the servant answered in a trembling voice while sweating. "Why are they not out yet?" I have no idea." They did not do anything further after the car was parked there. Ning Yaohua stayed silent for a while, then spoke up. "Fine, I can't blame them for acting high and mighty, they are from the Liu family anyway. I'll greet them personally. You, be careful of what comes out of your mouth later." Ning Yaobang was upset. "What? I can't even speak freely now? Do you not get the situation? I'm not in the mood to argue with you. Just stay put, or else, it won't be pretty if the guest is offended." Ning Yaohua yelled at him. Ning Yaobang understood the importance of the situation and acquiesced. "Okay, I'll just keep my mouth shut, all right?" Ning Yaohua went up with Zhuang Lingyu, Ning Yaobang and a few servants, straightening his back and walking to the black Maybach. There was a small gap in the car window that was left open, and the people inside would surely be able to hear voices from the outside. Ning Yaohua greeted passionately, "Dear guests, it's my honor to see you here tonight. Please come inside." A second went by, 2 seconds went by, 3 seconds went by. Ning Yaohua's smile stayed frozen, but nothing happened. Could it be that they had not heard it? Ning Yaohua coughed softly and continued, "It must be a long trip here. Please come inside and get some drinks." It was completely silent. Ning Yaohua's face darkened and he asked a servant behind him, "Are you sure that there are people inside?" "Absolutely, no one came down from the car since it was parked here. There must be someone inside," the servant spoke with utmost confidence. Ning Yaohua's frown deepened. What was happening? Why did the people not come down? He already come to greet them personally. Had he made any mistakes? Suddenly, Zhuang Lingyu thought of something and she quickly pulled Ning Yaohua aside. "Yaohua, come over here." "What is it?" "Do you think these people from the Liu family are here for Xueluo?" Zhuang Lingyu asked. "Xueluo?" "Yeah. There are also a lot of guests who are here for Xueluo today, isn't it? Some of them even said they are Xueluo's fans. Xueluo's studio has been doing really well recently." "So?" Ning Yaohua's expression brightened up. "That makes sense, but I have never heard anything about it from Xueluo. Your F48 stories on /o/v/lbn.cm. Let's just ask her, I'll get her here now." "Okay, quickly," Ning Yaohua urged. The group retreated back to the entrance. "Father, Mother, what has happened? Why did you call me here so urgently?" Ning Yaohua looked at her seriously. "Xueluo, be honest, are you affiliated with anyone from the Liu Corporation?" Ning Xueluo tilted her head. Lu Corporation? Yes. Ning Yaohua looked nervous. Not really. Ning Xuelua answered without hesitation. She would be glad to know someone from there though. However, no matter how capable she was, it was really difficult to get in touch with the Lu family. Ning Yaohua looked at the car carefully. Xuelua, think again, a car from the Lu family is parked right outside our house now. What? Ning Xuelua was shocked. She looked over at the car and tried to remember. Can you remember anything? Were you in contact with anyone from the Lu Corporation recently? Zhuang Lingyu asked. After a short while, Ning Xuelua quickly said, Mother, I remember something. At a cocktail party a few days ago, I met Lu Tingxiao's personal assistant, Qing Feng, and he asked me about history. Zhuang Lingyu was excited. Ah. Why didn't you tell us about such an important news? Ning Xuelua blushed. He was just asking casually, why would I bring this up? Ning Yaohua was really surprised. Xuelua, you're still so innocent. His personal assistant already made contact with you, obviously, they are interested in your studio, they might even ask for a cooperation. No wonder they sent someone over for your grandfather's birthday. Let's go. We'll greet the honored guests together. Ning Xuelua felt that it was quite likely and she was really excited, but she tried to hide it. All right, father. Then, the three of them walked to the car once again. The window gap was too small to see anything inside, but one could still see that there was a figure sitting in the car. Ning Xuelua took a deep breath before saying, Is that you, Mr. Cheng? I didn't know that you were here, I apologize for the lack of hospitality from us. Thank you for making this trip. Ning Xuelua went on courteously. Yet, nothing happened. It was as if there wasn't anyone in the car. The three of them looked at each other in confusion. What was going on? Why was the person just parking right in front of their house? He or she couldn't have come all the way here just for a parking, could they? Was the scenery here that attractive? How odd. As Lu Tingxiao and the little bun were here, Ning Shi excused herself after finishing the birthday cake. Grandfather, it's late, I need to go back. The elder had no more reason to keep her here, so he held her hand reluctantly and told her, remember to come back and visit often. Of course. Ning Shi nodded. You always give me empty promises, I wonder when will be the next time you actually come back. Well, it's time for you to go now, it's late already. I'll ask a driver to send you back. It's okay, grandfather, a friend is here to send me back. Okay, be careful on the way back. Goodbye, grandfather. After bidding farewell to grandfather and Ning Tianxin, Ning Shi rushed out with a giddy sort of happiness. Oh, to see the little bun. Precious little bun. As she reached the entrance, she almost bumped into Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Xuelua. Ning Xuelua went up to her as soon as she saw her. Sister, are you leaving now? Ning Shi grunted impatiently, the little bun was just right in front of her and she was being blocked, irking her greatly. Sister, it's difficult to get a taxi here this late. Why don't you wait for a little while? I'll have Bro Yen send you back after the banquet is finished. Ning Xuelua suggested because she knew that someone would definitely be someone against this idea. Zhuang Lingyu quickly pulled Ning Xuelua aside. Xuelua, you silly child, why are you so naive? Mother, it's really late now, it'd be dangerous for sister to go back alone. Zhuang Lingyu signaled Ning Xuelua not to say another word, then she walked up to Ning Shi with an unkind expression and questioned her in a straightforward manner. Ning Shi, what are you trying to do? Find EU chapters on nv/lbi. calm. Ningxi calmly crossed her arms and answered slowly, "What do you think I'm trying to do, Madam Ning?" Zhuang Lingyu sneered at her disdainfully, "All you want is just money, isn't it? And here I was thinking how diligent you could be. It's not that you don't want to join the company, but you're so ambitious that you only want to join the main company." Ningxi raised her eyebrows. "I want to join the main company? Don't you dare tell me that you didn't think about it. Otherwise, why would you do all the things you did today to please your grandfather? Always using all these tricks. Now that you know how difficult it is to survive in the outside world, you want to come back? It's too late." Suddenly, the door of the Maybach opened slowly. When Zhuang Lingyu noticed the door opening, she totally ignored Ningxi and pushed her behind, then nudged Ning Xuelua to the front. "Seems like Assistant Qing is coming down, Xuelua, go." Ning Yaohua was astounded to see the one disembarking from the car was not Qing Feng, it was the Lu family's second master, Lu Jingli. Unlike the elusive Lu Tingxiao, Lu Jingli led a high-profile life. His face was so well known that no one could ever mistake it. The Lu family second master was here personally. What an honor! His heart was racing just thinking about the reactions of the guests, his father's shock and Ning Yaobang's jealousy when they all saw Lu Jingli. Ning Xuelua was completely dumbfounded. She thought it was an assistant from the Lu Corporation who would be in the car. If the car did not have Lu Tingxiao's personal car plate number on, she would not even have thought about his personal assistant. Qing Feng was one of Lu Tingxiao's most trusted personnel and had a considerable amount of power in the Lu Corporation. He did not usually appear personally and would normally send his underlings for small matters. She was mind-blown that Lu Tingxiao's brother, Lu Jingli, was here. She saw the admiration glowing in the eyes of Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Xuelua's pride was boosted to its peak as she suppressed her excitement and went forward to greet the man. Second Master. After Ning Yaohua had calmed himself down, he put on his persona as the company's president and walked slowly towards Lu Jingli. "Welcome to our abode, Mr. Lu." Ning Yaohua extended his hand for a handshake as he was talking halfway. In a turquoise blue outfit, Lu Jingli simply acted as if the three of them did not exist and walked right past them, going up to Ningxi as if he was about to cry. "Sis." Ningxi gave him an intense glare as sharp as throwing knives, and Lu Jingli quickly stopped before he could say sister-in-law. Lu Jingli had an awkward expression on his face as he spoke weakly, "Xiao Shishi, you're finally out, I'm so hungry from waiting for you. Get in the car quickly. Are you trying to lose your job by making your boss wait for so long?" Lu Jingli made a shift in his character by acting like her superior, but it barely felt dignified at all. Ningxi sighed in relief. This wide-mouthed bastard. She was almost scared to death by him. When would he learn to observe the environment before he spoke? This bastard was still her superior by name, so she could neither hit nor scold him. She could only keep it all inside. Lu Jingli did not mind at all and smiled at her. "Ah, are you too shocked from the fact that I'm here for you personally? It's okay, I was on the way. Get in the car. Quickly." Lu Jingli could feel two scorching stares aimed at him and tormenting his soul, so he then quickly pushed Ningxi into the car and closed the door swiftly. Good. All done. Mission accomplished. Finally, he had picked up the devil's treasure, Xiao Shishi. He did not care about the expression of the three people behind him, adjusted his necktie, got into the driver's seat and drove away. The black Maybach fading out of sight. Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu and Ning Xuelua still could not believe what just happened. They just stared blankly at the direction where the car had gone off in. The person they had been trying to greet for a long time. The second master of the Lu Corporation, Lu Jingli, came personally. Just to pick Ningxi up? Your F48 stories on /o/v/lbn.cm. How? Impossible. Moreover, although Lu Jingli had sounded like he was blaming Ningxi, his tone was rather friendly, like friends joking with each other, as if they were very close. Zhuang Lingyu felt really embarrassed. She had only just accused Ningxi of not doing well outside and that she was back to claim something from the family. Now, she was involved with someone like Lu Jingli. Ning Yaohua did not feel any less shocked than his wife. He also felt a tinge of regret and envy. He had been trying so hard to get in contact with the Lu Corporation, yet his useless daughter was friends with Lu Jingli? Damn it, what a mistake! How could he forget? Ningxi was with Glory World Entertainment now, and rumor had it that Ningxi had been invited to join the company personally by Lu Jingli and that he really valued her. He had always thought that Ningxi was just a small chess pawn and that the arrangement was nothing more than just a business strategy. Who would have guessed that they would be friends? Xuelua, has Ningxi always been this close to the Lu family's second master? Ning Yaohua asked quietly. Ning Xuelua clenched her fist tightly and stared at the direction Ningxi left, only reacting after she heard Ning Yaohua's question. I'm not so sure about this, Father. I guess you've heard about the second master's personality as well. He's not as unapproachable as Lu Tingxiao and he's always friendly towards his colleagues. Ningxi was recruited by him personally and she helped him win over Starlight Entertainment, so it's understandable that they are on friendly terms with each other. Ning Yaohua nodded. I see. If we could get in contact with Lu Jingli, it would be a lot more useful than just a small assistant like Ching Feng. Ning Xuelua's face froze and she felt embarrassed. It'd be great if we could, but, Father, you know that sister has a great misunderstanding of us now. Maybe I could go and beg her? Zhuang Lingyu could not keep quiet any longer. Why should you? Lu Jingli has always been friendly with many people. How long will he remember her for? There are so many new artists joining the company every day, he will forget all about her soon. He was just here to pick her up on the way today. Suddenly, an idea popped up in Ning Yaohua's mind. Xuelua, do you think that maybe Lu Jingli is interested in Ningxi? Ning Xuelua knew what Ning Yaohua was thinking since she had thought about it too, but she instantly rejected the thought. Father, it doesn't seem very possible. Almost everyone in the industry knows that Lu Jingli would never mess with his own artistes. Ning Yaohua sighed. He knew that from their earlier exchange too, but he thought it would do no harm to ask about it. It would be an immensely helpful resource even if they could just have the tiniest of ties to the Lu family, and it was the second in command of the Lu Corporation, Lu Jingli, who they were talking about. Maybe, this useless daughter still had some value in her that they could exploit. As the three of them returned to the banquet hall, many people went up to them and asked if someone from the Lu family had come. They lied and said it was a relative of theirs and not anyone from the Lu Corporation. In the car, Ningxi put the sleepy little bun on her lap, feeling her heart ache to see the little bun's sleepy face. She tried to pat him to sleep while talking. I've already said that I'll be late. Why didn't you wait for me at home? Lu Jingli stared at his brother and complained to Ningxi, well, I'd have really loved to, but the both of them couldn't wait at all. They were fidgeting here the whole time because you were 5 minutes late past your promised 2 hours. His face was so terrifying when you didn't pick up his call just now. He couldn't wait anymore after you texted him that you'll be late, and little treasure also started torturing me. So in the end, I had to drive them all the way here and wait for you. Finally, we arrived and then suddenly you were blocked, so I had to go down and get you into the car. Ugh. Ningxi looked at the little bun who was now sound asleep, and then looked at the devil who was still working. The devil was looking through his documents with a calm expression, as if he was just here to accompany the little bun. She could understand that the little bun was impatient, but it was difficult to imagine the devil flustered by a trivial matter like this. Was Lu Jingli exaggerating? Lu Tingxiao noticed the girl's gaze on him, so he looked up and asked, "Is everything all right?" Ning Shi quickly replied, "It's nothing, I just went back home for a visit." Lu Tingxiao did not believe her casual reply, but he did not push further. "Oh, right, Lu Tingxiao, I have something to ask you." Ning Shi peeked up. Ning Shi frowned. "So, I bought a jade bead bracelet for my grandfather's birthday at your shop Jade Treasury for $120,000 and a 20% discount, but why was it that when I gave it to my grandfather today, someone said it's worth over $2 million and that it had been consecrated by a monk?" Lu Tingxiao only gave her a bisyllable reply after her long-winded question, "Was it?" Ning Shi squinted her eyes and pouted. He was obviously acting like he did not know anything. "Did you make your employees do that?" Ning Shi asked directly. Lu Tingxiao answered expressionlessly, "I was overseas then." Ning Shi blinked her eye. "Oh, right, you were in Philadelphia then." Top VL updates on n/o/v/lb/in.com. If he was overseas, how did he know what happened and how could he have sent people to help her? That's weird. Then what happened? That old man seemed like an expert, he didn't look like he could have been mistaken. "Hey, Lu Tingxiao, as a boss, aren't you concerned that your worker sold me something at a wrong price?" Ning Shi mumbled. Lu Tingxiao nodded, I'll reward him later." Ning Shi was speechless. Lu Jingli blurted, "I'm full already all of a sudden." "Full of your doses of love." Ning Shi gave up arguing with Lu Tingxiao. She had something that troubled her more and gave her a splitting headache. "Speaking of which, this bracelet got me on an awkward blind date." "What? What?" Lu Jingli was shocked. If he had a tail behind him, it would have been wagging vigorously now, his gossip mode turned on. "Xiao Shi, what blind date?" "Blind date." Lu Tingxiao's calm expression was slowly turning into a brooding storm. Ning Shi held her chin in her hand and sighed, "It was that old man who recognized the origins of my bracelet. Because he has a bracelet given by his grandson which was consecrated too, he said that we're very similar. Then, he chatted to my grandfather and suddenly wanted to introduce me to his grandson. My grandfather probably thought it was a good idea after he saw the grandson's picture, so he agreed and even set up a time. He even reminded me about this before I left." Lu Jingli was clearly entertained. "Wow. Then, Xiao Shi, are you going?" What was happening? Sister-in-law had just gone out for a few hours and a new romantic rival appeared. How competitive! Lu Jingli was shocked and he looked at Ning Shi through the rearview mirror nervously. "Xiao Shi, you're even more unrestrained than I am. You wouldn't really abandon your principles and go to the blind date, would you?" Ning Shi's mouth twitched. What unrestrained? No matter how look, it was my grandfather's arrangement, all right? I realize that his health condition is getting worse and all his hair has turned white. Lu Jingli thought that they were done for, his brother was in deep trouble. Xiao Shi, there are a lot of ways to express your filiality. Don't rush, you won't really attend the blind date, would you? Lu Jingli kept asking. He then glanced at his brother and thought there would be some form of reaction, but his brother just sat there quietly and did not do anything. Lu Jingli was even more terrified of such a reaction. Lu Tingxiao was too quiet, which was not a good sign. It was more like the dead silence after a vigorous struggle. He wanted to appear with her in public, to protect her personally and to kiss her in front of everyone. Even when she had dressed as a guy, he wanted to tell everyone that she was his and that no one was allowed to come near. But now that he did not even have the right to be with her, he could not do anything. He was in a special position and currently, Ningxi was at a critical point in her career. If she was found involved with him, all her efforts would be deemed useless as everyone would think that she was successful because she relied on her intimate relationship with him. He loved to see her fight passionately for her dream and he did not want to ruin it. As Ningxi was thinking of a plan to settle this problem, her eyes met with Lu Tingxiao's. What kind of eyes were those? Read lat stchers on n/v/l/b.i.cm. They looked cold and distant, as if nothing could penetrate into his world, but she could see right into his deepest nooks, his emotions burning her passionately with the temperature of magma lava. The car was deafening with silence. Lu Jingli looked at his brother, then looked at Ningxi and his handsome face darkened. Hey, both of you, can you guys be considerate to others while you two stare into each other's eyes lovingly? A while later. Lu Jingli, okay, my bad, I don't exist at all, please continue to ignore me. At Regal Riviera Hotel. After sending Ningxi and the little bun back to the apartment, Lu Jingli did not leave immediately. Instead he looked at Ningxi with a pitiful face. Sister-in-law, I'm really hungry now and it'd be great if I can have a taste of your steamboat dishes. Ningxi held the little bun in her arms and squinted her eyes coldly. What did you just call me? Bro she. Lu Jingli changed instantly. Ningxi looked satisfied, then asked, didn't you guys have dinner? We went straight to your place after work. I just had some snacks in the car. My brother did not eat anything at all. Lu Jingli kept complaining. He had yet to find out how Ningxi was going to handle the blind date and he would not be able to sleep if he did not know what was going to happen. Ningxi looked helplessly at him. Thank goodness she had brought little treasure for a meal before she sent him over. Otherwise, he would have been starving together with them as well. She knew that men were all useless at taking care of kids. Because the staring contest earlier was probably too intense, Ningxi avoided Lu Tingxiao's gaze and threw her hands up in surrender. Fine, come up to my place, I am a little hungry as well. When they passed by the receptionist, Ningxi looked bitter as she mumbled, how annoying. What happened? Lu Jingli asked. Ningxi said, her heart aching, there was a super cute girl as the receptionist here previously. I even gave her a box of lipstick on her first day here, we were on really good terms. She always shares some gossip with me every now and then, but then she was suddenly moved away and the current receptionist is an uncle. Ugh, I'm so angry, give me back my cute girl. Ugh. Lu Jingli's first reaction was to turn over to look at the calm and innocent-looking brother. Who else would do something like that? His brother's romantic rivals were everywhere. It was busy enough for him to just take care of them every day. After they went up and got out of the lift, Ningxi walked towards her home and then abruptly stopped at the junction, suddenly stepping backwards. Xiao Shi, what happened? Anything wrong? Lu Jingli was confused. Lu Tingxiao already saw someone standing in front of her door and he frowned. Ningxi sighed, Su Yan. What? Su Yan? Your first love? What about him? He's right in front of my door. Lu Jingli opened his eyes wide. What? What is he trying to do, waiting for you outside your door at midnight? Xiao Shi, I'll beat him up for you. Ningxi rolled her eyes at Lu Jingli, then went to Lu Tingxiao. Help me hold little treasure for now, I'll go and settle whatever it is with him. I'll be quick. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Lu Jingli looked at his brother's gentle expression, impressed by his brother's calm act in front of his wife. A thunderstorm was probably brewing in his mind. Su Yan had a cigarette between his fingers as he leaned on Ningxi's door, looking deep in thought. He only noticed Ningxi when she was right in front of him, acknowledging her as he looked up. Xiaoxi, you're back. Read latest chers at n/velbi.co/m. Ningxi nodded slightly. Has the banquet ended? I sent Shuelua back here, so I decided to come here and pay you a visit as well. I thought you'd be home a long time ago. Did something happen? Su Yan was concerned. He did not know she was picked up by Lu Jingli. Nope, there was a jam. What's up? Ningxi replied half-heartedly. Lu Jingli had been talking to her all the way home, driving at the speed of a snail. It was too busy back there just now and I didn't have time to talk to you properly. Su Yan looked at her as if he wanted to say something else. It's quite late already, why don't you just tell me here? Su Yan hesitated. There's something I wanted to remind you, Xiaoxi. I'm afraid that it would be a little awkward if you decide to go back to the Ning family now. Oh. What's awkward? Ningxi raised her eyebrows and questioned. Under the dim light, her bright eyes shone beautifully. Su Yan's breathing slowed down and her beauty stole his breath away. He nearly forgot what he wanted to say and only broke out of his reverie after a while. He looked awkwardly at her as he realized his mistake and he coughed lightly. Ning International's framework and foundation was laid down the past 5 years, and if an extra heir was suddenly thrown into the equation, the outcome would be devastating. Ningxi gave the man in front of her a teasing look, casually taking a harmless swipe at him. What if I really wanted Ning International? Su Yan's face darkened when he heard her question, chastising her in a serious tone. Stop messing around, Xiaoxi. This is too much. If you insist on doing such a thing, you'll get hurt in the end. They won't let you off easily if you affect the amount of benefits they get. Ningxi sneered. Ah, their benefits, whose benefits? He always acted as if he cared but changed his stand the minute his benefits were involved. Su Yan saw Ningxi's incensed eyes and he quickly explained himself. You've misunderstood me, Xiaoxi. I'm not doing this for myself, I'm not after the Ning family's wealth either. It's just that, I don't know what to do if you're in conflict with Shuelua. Ningxi stretched her back and glanced at him sideways. What's the matter? Do you have any other choice aside from Ning Shuelua when it comes to choosing between us? Su Yan balled his fist tightly when he saw the girl's smirk and the mocking disdain in her eyes. He calmed himself down after a while, sighed and tried to avoid the girl's eyes. There would not have been any other choice if time were reversed. Even if he had another chance to choose what happened 5 years ago once again, he would still have chosen Ning Shuelua without any hesitation. Regardless of Ning Shuelua's mistake, he loved her to the point of selfishness and he chose to protect her to the ends of the earth. But now, he himself was not sure what was wrong with him. Ever since Ningxi had come back, his sight always lingered on her and his urges to be near her were getting stronger lately. He had always known what he wanted. Ning Shuelua was the woman of his dreams, his perfect ideal partner. However, for some reason, what he thought he had known all along was falling apart. He should not have come looking for Ningxi this late at night to avoid any misunderstanding, but he still came. All because he wanted to see her, even if she wanted to be sarcastic with him. Su Yan calmed his turmoiled heart and started talking in a gentle tone. Xiaoxi, I'm telling you this for your own good. I hope that you can think about it. Give me a call if you ever need help with anything. As he was still trying to convey his message discreetly, he realized that he did not know what more to say at that point. I'll not bother you now, it's late already. Good night. Discover new stories at nv/lbin.c/o. From around the corner, Lu Jingli's eyes recorded everything that was happening and he spoke quietly. My sixth sense is picking up an unusual aura. It seems like, the way Su Yan is looking at Ningxi is a little suspicious. Suddenly, Lu Tingxiao released the pressure he had been suppressing all night long with a loud whoosh of air. Lu Jingli was terrified as he wiped his sweat and mumbled to himself, "What situation am I in now? Bro, did you meddle with something weird lately? You're really unlucky with so many romantic rivals around, and for some reason, I've been feeling that something big is going to happen soon. I'm scared." Ningxi brought little treasure to sleep in the room after she entered her house, then she opened the fridge and looked for cooking ingredients for the soup base she was going to cook. Thanks to little treasure, she had stocked up on a lot of food. All sorts of ingredients were available in her fridge. In fact, it was enough to prepare a steamboat feast anytime. Lu Tingxiao naturally took over the vegetables from her and helped to wash them. Ningxi looked at him and helped to roll his sleeves up for him. Lu Jingli felt like he was the largest third wheel in the world at that moment, so he stayed in the living room and watched television alone. UW Evils up Tez on NOV/L/BI.com. The ingredients were soon prepared, the steamboat soup base emitting an aromatic smell which was extremely tempting. Lu Jingli could not wait anymore, so he rushed to the table and saw that the pot was separated into two sections. One contained clear soup base and the other was a piquant spicy soup. Lu Jingli was confused. "Xiao Shishi, why did you make two soup bases?" "Your brother doesn't eat spicy food," she replied while setting up the table. "Oh." Lu Jingli bit on the chopsticks, then asked again, "Xiao Shishi, do you like my brother?" Ningxi choked as she was drinking some water, almost biting her own tongue. She then nervously looked at Lu Tingxiao. "What are you talking about?" "Well, you've been treating my brother exceptionally well," Lu Jingli mumbled. Would there be any subordinate who doesn't want to please their boss? Don't think too much about it, all right? If you're accusing me again, I'm going to give you a good beating. Ningxi handed Lu Tingxiao a pair of chopsticks after she clarified herself. "Boss, don't listen to him. I'm always loyal to you and will never have weird thoughts about you." Lu Tingxiao took the chopsticks from her and looked at her. "I don't mind." Lu Jingli and Ningxi were speechless. After some munching, Lu Jingli patted his stomach in satisfaction, having gained his strength to start gossiping again. "Xiao Shishi, can I ask you a question?" "What?" "How do you feel about Su Yan?" Lu Tingxiao's hand twitched a little as he was serving Ningxi some vegetables. "How do I feel? Well, I'm asking if you still can't get over him. Why must you make me say it so clearly?" Ningxi rolled her eyes. "Do you think it's possible?" Lu Jingli bit his chopsticks again. "Why not? First love is usually the most unforgettable one, isn't it?" He then glanced at his brother. Ningxi was his brother's first love. Why did everyone think she still could not get over Su Yan? First, it was Ning Tianqin and now Lu Jingli. Ningxi munched on a roasted potato and said in dissatisfaction, "The world is so huge that it contains so many hot guys out there. I'm not the shy little girl I was back then. There's no point staying on a tree when a jungle is waiting for me, all right? I already have someone I like in mind." Both Lu Jingli and Lu Tingxiao straightened their backs at full attention. Lu Jingli would never let this chance pass, so he quickly followed up. "I've heard about it before, then who is it? What does he look like? Is he more handsome than I am? What kind of man could steal Broshi's heart away? Quickly tell me." Ningxi was annoyed by Lu Jingli's excitement. "Let me think. Quickly." Lu Tingxiao sat there in silence, not wanting to continue listening, but he could not leave even though he knew that the answer was going to hurt him. Ningxi touched her chin and stole a look at Lu Tingxiao as she thought very carefully before she answered. He is powerful and domineering, a man of multiple talents, an intellectual and a warrior, gentle and romantic, smart and brave, mature and stable, amazing and rare to meet, every woman's dream, and overall, a gift to mankind." Lu Jingli and Lu Tingxiao were speechless. When Lu Jingli finally recovered, his mouth twitched as he asked, "Are you sure you're talking about a human? Do you have exaggerate so much?" Lu Tingxiao could not really put into words how he felt at that moment. Ningxi's description was a little over the top, but it was through her description that one would know how perfect that person was in her heart. If you knew who he was, you definitely wouldn't think I'm exaggerating." Ningxi mumbled. Lu Jingli asked, "Who is he then?" Ningxi squinted her eyes and stuffed a butter bun into Lu Jingli's mouth. "Want to trap me with my words? Please." Lu Jingli swallowed the bun in one quick chomp and mumbled, "Since you already have someone you like, are you still going on that blind date then?" If he couldn't find out more about the man of her dreams, this urgent mission at hand had to be clarified. 7 sit envelb/n. C/m for L test vels. Ningxi sighed, "I'd still have to go or I have a lot of explaining to do, don't I? Wouldn't I embarrass my grandfather if I just bailed out on the date?" Lu Tingxiao's expression softened when he heard her reasoning. Actually, her answer was within his expectations, but he had a possessive bone in him that overrode all rationality. Even though he knew her valid reason, it was hard to calm his heart. Who could accept their own wife going on a blind date? The next day. In the morning, Ningxi brought Little Treasure to hang out at the studio with her as she worked. Because she had a date with Elder Shi's grandson, she made a trip to the Lu Corporation in the evening to send Little Treasure over. Even though this was not her first time to the company, every time she went there would still be many eyes watching her. All of them would have loved to take her mask off to see who she was. Once upstairs and out of the elevator, a young girl suddenly mustered the courage to rush in front of her to say, "Miss Su, I love your movies very much. Could you help me please give me your autograph?" Ningxi raised her brows. Miss Su? Who could it be? It dawned on Ningxi quickly. Was she misunderstood to be Su Yimo? As she watched the girl's expression of anxious anticipation, she did not have the heart to reject her. Actually, she knew that this girl did not really want her autograph. She had intentionally come to test her identity. If she signed her autograph, then she would have silently admitted that she was Su Yimo. If she didn't, then she obviously wasn't. Just as she stood there thinking about what to do, Lu Tingxiao walked towards her. When the girl saw Lu Tingxiao coming over, she scuttled away faster than a rabbit. Ningxi did not see clearly how she disappeared, but her shadow was gone within seconds. She didn't blame the girl for running away because the boss was not in a good mood today. This morning, he had already made the managers of several departments cry and she was just a puny secretary, so to avoid being another victim of his, it was natural that she would hide as far away from him as she could. Lu Tingxiao saw Ningxi carrying Little Treasure and his features tightened. He's already so old, does he still need to be carried? Little Treasure buried his head deeper into the scoop of Ningxi's shoulder as he looked guiltily. "Auntie Xiaoxi, Daddy is scolding me." Ningxi immediately patted Little Treasure's head and defended him. "He's not too old, he's only 5. What Little Treasure needs now is not to grow up. What he needs is to return bit by bit to being 4 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old. He needs to relearn how to be a little kid." Lu Tingxiao sighed, then softened his tone. "I'm just worried your arms will be tired." Then, he said in a low voice, "Are you going over now?" Ningxi looked at the time on her phone and replied, "It's almost time for the date." Something flickered in Lu Tingxiao's eyes quite a few times before it finally returned to a steady gaze. "Go, and take care." "I will." Ningxi put down the little bun and gave him a big kiss as always. Outside the CEO's office, a manager held a stack of documents in his arms while his legs wobbled as he popped his quick-acting pill for his heart condition into the palm of his hand to prepare himself before he went in. Behind him, Lu Jingli put an arm on the guy's shoulder and sighed as he shook his head. Don't bother taking it out, no pill can save you. Based on my brother's mood today, if you go inside right now, you'll just die. The manager turned to see who it was that made such a nerve-wracking comment. Second master, save me. You deserve it. When my brother was still in a good mood for the past few days, you dared to be lazy, now you're in bad luck. Lu Jingli insulted heartlessly without thinking about how he himself was the master of laziness. Only this time, he was lucky not to get caught between a rock and a hard place. Second master, I still have some old folks and a few young ones to take care at home. My wife is also about to have a second child. The manager almost got down onto his knees to plead. Pfft. Are you trying to trigger the bachelor in me? Lu Jingli exploded. I wouldn't dare. I definitely don't mean that. The manager looked miserable. Why did it seem like even second master had angry explosives for breakfast as well? Lu Jingli scoffed a few times in exasperation and looked at his unlucky employee before saying kindly, Don't go inside for your death row today. My brother won't have the mind to care about your issue, so quickly go settle your proposal properly before going in again. Okay, I'll go do that immediately. Thank you, second master, for the tip, the manager profusely said and gratefully hurried away. Lu Jingli pushed the door into the office. He saw that the office had an additional tatami arranged by the window, obviously for the convenience of Little Treasure to watch for Auntie Xiaoxi's return. Lu Jingli's mouth twitched in amusement. He could see her every day, so why was he still acting like he was waiting for her return after wins? Then, he looked at his brother who sat solemnly in front of his desk with a pen in his right hand and some documents on his left. He seemed like he was focused on work, but one look at his face and you would know that his mind was elsewhere. Lu Jingli coughed lightly. Bro, are you sure you want to continue pretending to be so virtuous? Pretend further and you'll lose your wife. I'm just saying, you should have simply come up with a little plan to sabotage the dude from the Shi family so that he would not make it. Lu Tingxiao shot him a disgusted look. Do you think that Ning Shi wouldn't have thought that I would be the one behind such a thing? In fact, that would not solve the root problem. How about I help you find a woman to pretend to be that dude's ex-girlfriend or something to cause a ruckus? That way, Xiaoxi could justifiably run away? Lu Jingli continued to plague him with ideas. No way. The probability of being exposed on the spot was very high. No one was as careful as Lu Tingxiao, he would not use a plan with any loopholes. If this won't do and that won't either, what options do we have? Bro, it's not that I don't like listening to advice. Even though Xiaoxi said she was just going to explain herself to him, what if that guy coincidentally turns out to be the type that Xiaoxi likes? Anything is possible. Lu Jingli said earnestly. Lu Tingxiao put down the pen and grazed the desk lightly with his fingers. His eyes fell onto his son who was sitting on the tatami. Lu Jingli followed Lu Tingxiao's gaze and looked over. Bro, what do you have in mind? Lu Tingxiao got up and walked over to his son, then he said, Little Treasure, come, let's get you something to eat. Lu Jingli then said, Bro, you aren't thinking about. Pfft. I came up with so many ideas for him earlier and yet, he was not satisfied. Now, his ultimate idea was to bring his nuclear weapon, Little Treasure, to the front line? Very good, this was an idea worthy of the devil. The only problem was that a particular nuclear weapon was not being cooperative. When Little Treasure heard his father, he refused to get up from the mat and started to write on his writing board, full. Auntie Xiaoxi had already fed him well before she left. In fact, she had cooked for him herself. Lu Tingxiao pinched the spot between his brows, then changed his phrasing of his baiting sentence. I'll bring you to see Auntie Xiao Shi. Within 3 seconds, Little Treasure released his little hands from his chin to peer out of the window. He rolled off the tatami, put on his little shoes and flew to his father and opened up his short hands to be carried. Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli were thunderstruck. This nuclear weapon had such a blatant weakness that left him vulnerable to control. Watching as the father and son prepared to leave, Lu Jingli followed them. I want to eat too. Indeed, eat it was. Find new stories on NOV/ELBin.com. Half an hour later, at a stylish Japanese restaurant. The Japanese restaurant retained the traditional short-legged tables to dine, whereby customers had to take off their shoes before entering and then sit with their legs crossed. The dim lighting gave customers a sense of relaxed vibe. Before Ningxi's date arrived, she had already ordered a sake with low alcohol content to drink as she waited. She seemed not to notice that diagonally behind her, both the big and the small devils had already arrived together with Lu Jingli. The moment they entered, Little Treasure could recognize Auntie Xiaoxi from her back and instantly wanted to run to her. Lu Tingxiao held his son back, stopping him firmly. No. Little Treasure's face tensed up. His face was written with unspoken questions, silently expressing, why not? You said you brought me here to see Auntie Xiaoxi. Lu Tingxiao looked down at his son and said, I did bring you to see Auntie Xiaoxi, but only to watch her. Little Treasure felt cheated. When he was brought to a seat behind Auntie Xiaoxi, Little Treasure was in a sullen mood. However, because Auntie Xiaoxi was just opposite him and he could see her when he looked up, her mood instantly became marginally better. After he sat down, Lu Jingli looked at Ningxi who was seated alone and said, didn't Xiaoxi say they had decided on 7 o'clock? It's already 7:10. Being late on the first date, deduct his marks. Even though I've never seen Shi Shiqing, I'm guessing he won't be tough competition. There might not even be an opportunity for our Little Treasure to make a move. Ningxi was about to finish her drink, having waited for about another 10 minutes, yet her date still had not arrived. Lu Jingli was suddenly a little crestfallen. Could it be that he won't turn up at all? And to think that we were nervous for so long. The moment he said that, fair and slim fingers delicately held the curtain partition in front to open it. Then, a man in a nude-colored tuxedo walked in. The man had short, jet-black hair with a long torso. His looks were not especially attractive, but his charisma was warm and refined, very easily making people comfortable with him and exuding trustworthiness. The most outstanding thing was a certain quiet appeal to him, something that could calm someone down and be in a state of peace within the ascetic realm. Whoa, this man has quality. The instant he saw the man, Lu Jingli felt a niggling premonition in his heart. May the Buddha bless for this person not to be. Lu Jingli was about to say that he hoped this person was not Shi Shiqing, but Lu Tingxiao beat him to it. Shi Shiqing. Lu Jingli was dumbfounded. Whoa. No way. Is he really Shi Shiqing? That's him? As he was still in shock, he saw the man take his shoes off and courteously tell the waiter that he had a reservation. Then, he followed the waiter towards Ningxi's direction. Hello, Miss Ning? Ningxi had just finished the first pot of sake and was drinking the second pot of this restaurant's specially brewed cherry blossom liquor. When she heard someone speak to her in a soothing voice, she subconsciously looked up. Ningxi's demeanor immediately loosened up in seeing the man in front of her. Then she stood up to say, Yes, I'm Ningxi. Are you Mr. Shi? The man nodded. Nice to meet you. I'm Shi Shiqing. I'm very sorry for making you wait for so long. No worries, have a seat. I haven't waited for terribly long, Ningxi assured him and sat down again. Shi Shiqing took his blazer off and passed it to the waiter before sitting down as well. Shi Shiqing sat upright, crossing his legs politely while Ning Shi, on the other hand, sat as she wished and rather boldly, with one leg bent and an arm on top of that knee. She was seated in a masculine way, unlike the regular girl who would sit down politely and behave by the rules of society. Yet, even so, her mannerisms did not exude any rudeness at all. She wore a wide flared pants with her favorite embroidered leather jacket. The way she sat seemed to give out a vibe of liberty and none of the rigid restrictiveness Japanese restaurants were usually known for. Ning Shi had heard her grandfather say that the Shi family was an expert in jades and books, so the Shi family would most likely prefer gentle, friendly and knowledgeable women. Thus, to avoid unnecessary trouble, she decided to go against her better judgment and wore such an unladylike outfit. However, her plan did not seem to be fruitful as the moment Shi Shiqing saw her. Not only did he react in disgust, in fact, respect and appreciation flashed his eyes. From behind, Lu Jingli already anxiously started to bark, "Oh man, we're doomed." Those two wouldn't have met eye to eye, would they? Did you notice the look Xiao Shishi had when she stood up to meet Shi Shiqing? She was obviously stunned. She must have been charmed by him. In fact, the way Shi Shiqing looks at Xiao Shishi is full of admiration too. Damn it, shouldn't he prefer the type of girl who is the precious jewel of the family? Our Shishi dressed like a wild child today. Your F48 stories on /o/v/lbn.cm. Lu Tingxiao seemingly sipped his tea calmly, although that would be if you didn't notice his tensed-up smile and the way his knuckles turned white from gripping the cup too tightly. Lu Jingli was still trying hard to analyze. This Shi Shiqing is pretty tricky. Even though he is not as handsome as I am, but that charisma of his is quite special. Even from my perspective as a man, I find it very attractive. He makes people want to involuntarily know and befriend him. And the scariest thing is, with a personality like Xiao Shishi's unrestrained character, there is a high probability that she would like someone like Shi Shiqing who is the total opposite of her. Suddenly, the cup in Lu Tingxiao's hand fell and shattered on the ground. Lu Jingli gulped, his mouth turning dry. No, bro, I'm just simply guessing. There's definitely no way they will end up together. Didn't Xiao Shishi say she already have someone she likes? She wouldn't like Shi Shiqing. His brother's face turned a darker shade upon hearing his words. Lu Jingli shut up, not daring to say anything further. In such a situation, everything he said felt like a risk. At the other table, Ning Shi and Shi Shiqing had started to go deeper into conversation. Even though the table was quite a distance away from the Lu brothers, the restaurant was quite quiet, so if they listened closely, they could hear the conversation. Because he was late, Shi Shiqing felt that he should explain himself out of basic courtesy to his date, thus he started, "I'm really sorry. I actually saw an elderly woman fall on the way here, so I sent him to the hospital and that took quite some time." Ning Shi blurted, "Pfft," and could not help but say, if another man said such things to me, I would definitely doubt their IQ level for not being able to find a more sincere excuse. However, since it's you, Mr. Shi, then I would believe you because you do look like the kind of person who would help an elder woman cross the road and send a lost child home." Shi Shiqing laughed out loud when he heard this. "Ms. Ning, are you trying to say I look like a kind person?" Ning Shi nodded. "Not just that. Not only are you kind, you're practically at the level of Kim Saizi the monk." Shi Shiqing laughed at her cute description and he lowered his chin slightly. "Miss Ning, you're very interesting." Ning Shi paused. Damn it, it was her first time meeting someone this special and she could not hold herself back, ending up spurting out such sentences. She cleared her throat and quickly got to the point, "Mr. Shi, I'll just be honest here. Actually, I'm not all up for this blind date but unfortunately, my grandfather already helped me to arrange a date with you, so I had to come and explain the situation to you. I hope you will forgive me for this." Shi Shiqing did not seem angry or change his expressions when he heard this. However, somewhere deep in his eyes, something seemed to have dulled. Behind her, Lu Jingli heard Ningxi's words and quickly perked up his ears, regaining some spirit. Nice one, Xiao Shi, immediately knock him out. After Shi Shiqing heard what Ningxi said, he expressed instantly, I understand, even though I am slightly disappointed, I respect your wishes. Ningxi's brows raised slightly at his diplomatic answer. Slightly disappointed? Did he mean to say that he was interested in her? No way. Nothing she wore today should have fitted this man's aesthetic taste. He was just saying it to be charming, wasn't he? It was a possibility with this type of men. So, you don't need to feel pressured. Let's just treat today's meal as one between normal friends, okay? Shi Shiqing said. Ningxi suddenly realized that this man did not look extremely handsome, but he had a voice that was alluring and especially easy on the ears. Since he had said it that way and he was so accommodating without needing her to explain further, Ningxi naturally felt it would be cruel to reject him. Of course! Lu Jingli bit sharply into a slice of salmon. Damn it! I misjudged. I thought it was a saint who wouldn't get close to women yet, he was clearly tempted by seduction. In such a situation, if he was not interested in her, he would have immediately called for the bill and left, no need for further contact. But he actually asked her to enjoy a meal together in the name of friendship. Clearly, this guy has underlying motives. Lu Jingli continued to insult Shi Shiqing while Lu Tingxiao looked miserable, and Little Treasure, who was admiring Auntie Xiaoxi's back, finally realized that something was odd. Why is Auntie Xiaoxi eating with another strange uncle? Little Treasure pursed his lips, thought about it, then wrote on the board, date? Little Treasure pursed his lips, thought about it, then wrote on the board, date? Indeed, if he did not know, he had to ask. Is Auntie Xiaoxi on a date with someone else? Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli looked at the question on Little Treasure's writing board at the same time. Lu Jingli sighed and looked at Little Treasure with pity, like he was about to tell the kid that he was going to be abandoned by his mother. Baby, this is even scarier than a date. It's called a blind date, do you know what that means? Little Treasure honestly shook his head. A blind date is one of the rituals of Chinese traditional marriage. It can also be called to meet one at their door, interview, law of the play, or meet up. Most marriage introductions delve into family backgrounds, and the two people will be connected by the matchmakers. After that, the older relatives from both parties would meet to suggest a matrimony. Lu Jingli tried to explain while Little Treasure looked innocent and naive, like he barely understood. Thus, Lu Jingli could only drop the bomb, this blind date means that your Auntie Xiaoxi is about to be taken away by another man. To go give birth to a baby with another man. Little Treasures was shaken by this earth-shattering news. Auntie Xiaoxi will go with another man, to give birth to another baby. The poor little bun's head was filled with this sentence repeatedly, and without any signs, he started to cry buckets of tears and could not stop. Lu Jingli just wanted to tease him, but he accidentally went too far. Seeing Little Treasure bawl like that, he was instantly a panicked mess. Hey, baby, don't cry. Lu Tingxiao shot Lu Jingli a fierce look, then pulled Little Treasure to sit beside him, patiently clarifying, blind dates are just a way for men and women to meet one another, still far from marriage. Besides, she already rejected him earlier and she's just having a meal with him now. Unfortunately, the little bun had been hurt too deeply earlier and he could not take any more information in. He cried a river and started to gasp in between tears. Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli were two adult men who had no clue on how to coax children at all, as they watched the little bun cry his heart out. They were completely rooted to the ground. Ningxi was still completely oblivious about any tear-inducing incidents happening behind her back. Earlier, she had drank 2 flasks of liquor, and even though it was not high in alcohol, she was slightly drunk. Also, Shi Shurqing was really too sweet that one would easily lower their guards and relax with his company. They drank as they ate some sashimi while having casual conversation on some safe topics. Ah. You're in the business of jewelry, right? Coincidentally, I've been setting up a fashion studio recently and will definitely use accessories such as jewels. When the time comes, I'll be thick-faced and ask for your help. Ning Shi suddenly took up the responsibility as a business owner and took the opportunity to indirectly promote her business. Miss Ning Shi, don't be too shy. If you need anything, you can contact me anytime. After chatting for a while, Shi Shurqing asked, Miss Ning, I don't know if you still remember, but many years ago, we have actually met once. When Ning Shi heard this, she started to sober up. Have we? How could that be when I've no memory of us meeting at all? After all, Shi Shurqing was a pretty unique person and she was confident she would have remembered him. Shi Shurqing sipped on his sake and said, Your attention was on someone else then, naturally, you wouldn't notice anyone else. Even if he was attractive, he was probably invisible to her. Besides, he was still a young boy from university at that point in time. Find new stories on NOV/EL-BIN.com. Ning Shi blinked. From what he said, he must have been referring to 5 years ago when she was in love with Su Yan. However, she really did not remember meeting Shi Shurqing, so she was a little curious about the circumstances had he seen her in to remember it for 5 whole years. Really? When was that? Ning Shi asked casually. 5 years ago, at your 18th birthday party, Shi Shurqing answered. The cup in Ning Shi's hand wavered. After all, that was the worst day of her life. Shi Shurqing's eyes clouded over as he slowly said, You know that our grandfathers are really close, so for that birthday dinner, I went along as well. I remember, you were wearing a white dress at that time. When I saw you for the first time many years ago, I was drawn to you, you were like a natural princess. When Ning Shi listened to Shi Shurqing's description, she really did not know what to say. Ha, princess, obviously, Mr. Shi, your memory is a little foggy. That dress was a fake and I was even exposed by the crowd. Shi Shurqing interrupted her, real or fake, is that really important? Even though the ugly duckling was born among the ducks, she was still a swan and she would not change because of just anything. That was one of the most memorable days of his life because it was the first time he fell in love at first sight and then had to watch as the girl of his dreams get bullied while he looked on helplessly. It was probably after that incident that he had never returned to the Ning residence. When Ning Shi heard this, she felt moved and her eyes darkened. Mr. Shi, you seem to know more than I had imagined. This was when Shi Shurqing realized he had lost his regal posture and had said too much unnecessarily. My apologies, I accidentally overheard what they were saying. Because his gaze continued to follow after her for the rest of that night, he had accidentally overheard some things that were not meant for his ears. After he knew all of that, he felt his heart ache even more for her and hated himself for being useless. 5 years later, he was a successful person, but he never could let go of what happened then until his grandfather suddenly told him that he had arranged a blind date for him. He was going to immediately reject the old man, but who would have known that his grandfather would say that the date was a young lady from the Ning family. The most popular lady of the Ning family, Ning Xuelua, was already engaged, so who else could it be? He dared not to imagine, so he asked if it was Ning Tianxin. Much to his surprise, his grandfather had said the name he did not dare to imagine, Ning Shi. She had already disappeared for 5 years. Was she finally back? Because he had never paid attention to entertainment news, he didn't even know the most famous stars. He was much like an ignorant person from the ancient times. That was the reason why he had no inkling that she had been back a year ago and even rose to fame as an actress. In order to share common topics of conversation with her, he had watched all of her works and even read all the news and headlines related to her. All these years, he had been living the Zen life, especially appreciating the teachings of Buddha. His favorite place to go to was the temple to discuss Buddhist teachings with the masters. Even his family was starting to worry that he would become a monk. Yet, who'd have thought that at this very moment, she would appear? As Ningxi and Shi Shiqing were reminiscing, behind them, the little devil's wailing had intensified. Lu Jingli and Lu Tingxiao took turns to use several ways to calm him, but none of them worked. They simply could not coax him. Lu Jingli was about to kneel down to beg the child. He just wanted this little heir to stop crying. It's no big deal. If you know, then you know. Ningxi carelessly shrugged. Shi Shiqing's words had actually moved her a little, although she didn't show any signs of it. She never would have thought that on the saddest day of her life, on the day when she thought she had been shunned by the entire world, there was someone unknowingly on her side. She felt a rush of indescribable emotions, like she had been saved. Perhaps, this world wasn't so bad and hopeless. Well deserving of this man who looked like the reincarnation of Buddha. This level of divine intervention was definitely by the hand of God. When Shi Shiqing heard her nonchalant reply, he breathed a sigh of relief. That year, I felt very regretful and guilty that I couldn't help you. If you need anything now, please do tell me. I would cross oceans for you without any complaint. Shi Shiqing was being way too nice now. She was about to hand him a card for being Samaritan of the Year already. Ningxi laughed, then raised her cup to his. Mr. Shi, you're not really Buddha himself, you know. You can't really save everyone. I never thought of saving everyone, only you. Shi Shiqing blurted with a sense of urgency. As soon as he said that charismatic face of his blushed faintly. Ningxi was stunned, her heart skipping a beat. Something was not right. Behind them. Little treasure, don't cry anymore, okay? I know I was wrong. I won't spew nonsense again. Please, if you keep crying, I'll want to cry too. Lu Jingli was still worried, but he heard Shi Shiqing say, I never thought of saving everyone, only you, as if he was confessing his feelings to her. He was instantly dumbfounded. Damn it! You can never judge a book by its cover. Shi Shiqing is pretty good at pick-up lines. As he watched his crying son and the two people opposite him, Lu Tingxiao felt a familiar tinge of hostility that he tried his best to suppress within him. He had the urge to destroy everything that got close to her. Shi Shiqing subconsciously wanted to explain to her that he didn't mean that, but he didn't know why he changed his mind instead. He only sat quietly, waiting for the girl's response. Explain? Why would he need to explain? Geet the L Testvels on no/v/elben.c/om. He had waited for 5 years for this very day. How long more did he have to wait? Ningxi was uncertain about how to react to Shi Shiqing's attitude when the sound of footsteps came from behind her. A familiar shadow fell on the table in front of her. Then, she saw Shi Shiqing staring behind her with a shocked expression. Ningxi's heart skipped a beat as she turned around too. She then saw the devil with an upset expression and the little bun in his arms who was crying his eyes out. Ningxi was confused. Why would Lu Tingxiao and Little Treasure appear here? The both of them stood there, the big one in silence while the little one cried his heart out and reached his short hands out for a hug, while she sat there with a man across her. What was he trying to do, looking like a husband bringing their kid to catch her cheating on him? Because Ningxi was too shocked, she froze and did not make a move to carry Little Treasure. When the little bun saw Auntie Xiaoxi not reach out to carry him, his little face scrunched up and his tears burst like a broken dam. He cried and his little mouth tried hard to open, as if he wanted to say something but not a word came out. From an outsider's perspective, the little bun could not say anything because he was crying too hard, but you could actually read his lips clearly. He was calling mother soundlessly again and again. When he read the little bun's lips, Shi Shihqing dropped his cup on the floor. Was the child L calling Ningxi his mother? How could this be? No way, it was definitely impossible. This little boy looked like he was 4 or 5 years old. How could Ningxi have a son that old? And this poker-faced man with a suppressing aura around him looked familiar. Where did he see him before? Ningxi also seemed very shocked. Could they have mistaken her for someone else? As these thoughts flew across Shi Shihqing's mind, Ningxi stood up and quickly took the boy from Lu Tingxiao's embrace, coaxing him like her beloved baby. Baby, don't cry, don't cry. I'm sorry, it's all my fault, don't cry, okay? Shi Shihqing's face went instantly pale. In the next second, he met the gaze of the man's cold eyes. The man's eyes were clearly filled with an instinct to attack any stranger who has invaded his possessions. However, when he looked at Ningxi again, his icy gaze melted into a warm river. This man and Ningxi, what could their relationship be? Could it be that Ningxi had already gotten married and given birth 5 years ago? No, no way, Ningxi was still so young 5 years ago. What was going on then? Shi Shihqing was officially confused. At that moment, Ningxi's entire focus was on the crying little bun. She did not have the time to care about Lu Tingxiao and Shi Shihqing, so she did not notice Shi Shihqing's incredulous expressions of speculation. Because this scene was drawing so much attention with 2 tensed men, a woman and a crying child, very soon more and more people started to look over. I'm sorry, Mr. Shi, I have to make a move first. Ningxi carried the little bun and left the restaurant in a rush. Because the little bun crying had caused her to panic, she had even forgotten to take her bag and handphone. Lu Tingxiao carefully helped her gather everything, then followed her and even settled the bill for their table. Shi Shihqing remained at the same spot for a few seconds before running after them. Outside, Ningxi carried the little boy and stood on the pavement. The night was cold outside and the man took his blazer off to put it on her shoulders. The 3 of them looked like they were in perfect harmony with no space for anyone to cut in. Ningxi really tried hard to console little treasure until the little bun was finally calmer. Because he had cried so hard earlier, he kept hiccuping, so Ningxi gently patted his back and tenderly kissed his cheek to continue reassuring him. Why were you and little treasure here? Ningxi asked Lu Tingxiao when little treasure was much better. Little treasure missed you, so I brought him here to see you, Lu Tingxiao lied smoothly without any change in expression. The truth was that he obviously brought little treasure over. When Ningxi heard this, she felt even more guilty. All the while, little treasure didn't appear because he was sitting behind, silently watching her from afar. Was he crying so sadly because he saw her having dinner with another man and thought that she was going to be taken away? Ningxi naturally thought of this as the reason he was crying. Lu Tingxiao saw Ningxi's expression and knew that she believed him, so he breathed a sigh of relief. Discover new stories at nv/lbin.c/o. Otherwise, if she knew that he had brought little treasure out himself and that the little bun had only cried after Lu Jingli's nonsense, the consequence would be. Otherwise, if she knew that he had brought little treasure out by himself and that the little bun had only cried after hearing Lu Jingli's nonsensical words, the consequences would be dire. Even though little treasure had unleashed his killer move, there were far too many elements that were out of his control, such as today's situation. Initially he intended to bring little treasure to use only when necessary, but who'd have thought that Lu Jingli's single sentence would have made him completely lose control. Thankfully, it did not cause too much of an issue in the end and basically, everything was still within his plans. After Ningxi finished questioning Lu Tingxiao, she noticed someone behind her. Then, she saw Shi Shiqing, who had followed them out, stand quietly a few steps away from them. She was not sure how long he had been standing there for. Looking at the lonely and bewitched Shi Shiqing, who looked as pale as a sheet of paper, Ningxi's heart tightened a little and a bad feeling rose from the pit of her stomach. Even though she had roughly guessed that Shi Shiqing might be interested in her during their dinner, she seemed to have underestimated his determination and feelings for her. That expression did not seem like he was only meeting someone from the past who he once liked. It seemed more like he had liked her for all those years. But she could not fathom it. What occurred 5 years ago was a very brief meeting. Rationally, Shi Shiqing couldn't have developed such strong feelings for her, could he? However, no matter what it was, the reality was there before her eyes. In that case, this was trouble now. Even though it had been just a short interaction over dinner, she could see that Shi Shiqing was indeed a good man. Plus, this was grandfather's best friend's grandson, and if she did not handle this well, it would turn out to be a very sticky situation later. Thus, she absolutely had to get to the root of it today and completely shatter any fantasy ideas he might have. As she thought about this, Ningxi gathered her courage to make a decision. Discover new stories at nv/lbin.c/o. Hold on for a little while. Jingli went to get the car. Lu Tingxiao stood where the wind blew from, using his tall and built figure to block Ningxi and Little Treasure from the blustery weather. Ningxi's eyes squinted and she suddenly looked deeply into Lu Tingxiao's eyes. Lu Tingxiao. Her gaze was so intense in that instant that Lu Tingxiao felt his heart shiver. What is it? Ningxi stared at him unblinking, her gaze seeming as if it could see through his heart. Actually, Little Treasure didn't want to come tonight, did he? Did you bring him here by yourself? Lu Tingxiao was speechless. He was just being thankful earlier that his plan was flawless, but now, he was about to be exposed. Lu Tingxiao quickly thought of a plan to respond to this. Yet, he never would have thought that at that very moment, Ningxi, who was interrogating him, would suddenly tiptoe and kiss his lips. Lu Tingxiao was mind-blown. His head was a blank void, he did not know anything anymore. Ningxi. What was she doing? He could still see the girl's long eyelashes up close and taste the fragrance of the liquor lingering on her soft lips. Everything felt surreal, like a dream. No, even in his wildest dreams, never would he have dared to imagine such a crazy moment. Oh, no one could tell when Lu Jingli had driven the car over, but the moment he lowered the car window, this scene unfolded in front of him. He was so agitated that he almost mistook the accelerator as the brake. What was happening? Why was it that he had gone to get the car and left for a few minutes, only to return to a world he did not understand? Why is Xiao Shishi kissing my brother? No. That's not the main point. The main point was, from the looks of the situation, it was Xiao Shishi who had taken the initiative. It was possible that his brother had gotten too jealous and couldn't help but to steal a kiss from her, but based on the current situation, it was simply illogical. After Ningxi left Lu Tingxiao's lips, she looked at Shi Shiqing. Then, she looked at Lu Tingxiao and with her smiling eyes that shone like the blanket of stars above them, she tilted her head to the side and teased Lu Tingxiao, jealous? It was completely the tone of a girlfriend teasing her boyfriend. With Lu Tingxiao still looking at her, stunned, Ningxi smiled and continued, I already told you that the person I like is you. Upon hearing her shocking words, Lu Jingli felt thoroughly confused by the progress of the plot. When Lu Tingxiao listened to those beautiful words she had just uttered, he looked into the girl's love-filled eyes and his arm grabbed the girl tightly in his embrace. He covered her lips again and sank deeper into the kiss this time. At that very moment, even though he knew there was practically a cliff in front of him, he was willing to jump off it without hesitation. Only until Ningxi was almost suffocating did the kiss finally end. She secretly looked over Lu Tingxiao's shoulder and peeked behind him. Shi Shiqing was nowhere to be found. Ningxi silently sighed to herself. Even though she felt bad, this was the best solution she could think of for the both of them. Now that the matter with Shi Shiqing was finally resolved, of course what followed was very important. She still had to explain the situation properly to the devil. The two were surprised to feel something soft bump against both of them again and again. A little head popped out in between them. It was Little Treasure. This was when Ningxi noticed that she was still carrying Little Treasure, and she quickly wriggled out of the tight embrace she was in. Hey, Lu Tingxiao, you're squashing Little Treasure. Damn it! Just when she thought of how to make Shi Shiqing give up hope, she had actually forgotten that Little Treasure was here, and she even did such child-unfriendly things in front of him. When he heard what Ningxi said and peered at his son caught in between them, Lu Tingxiao woke up from his daze. The little bun puffed up his cheeks and looked at his father angrily. This was too much. Not only did his father get a kiss from Auntie Xiaoxi, he even got a hug from her. However, even though he felt annoyed, it seemed like he wasn't that angry. Because if Auntie Xiaoxi likes father, then she can continue to be his Auntie Xiaoxi. No wait, it'll be Mummy Xiaoxi. Up-to-date OVLS on OVL bin.cm. As he thought about this, Little Treasure decided to temporarily forgive his father. After Lu Tingxiao released her, Ningxi put Little Treasure down, then stood up straight and bowed at a 90-degree angle. Sorry, big boss. I didn't mean to violate you. In order to avoid any more unnecessary hassle in the future, I wanted to let Shi Shiqing give up hope, and in a moment of desperation, I kissed you and even said those words. I'm really sorry. In the car, Lu Jingli was officially dumbfounded. What a roller coaster of a plot. He suddenly felt very bad for his brother. Just moments before, he had thought that Xiao Shishi liked him, and then suddenly, the truth smashed his fantasy into smithereens. At that moment, Lu Tingxiao looked at Ningxi quietly without saying anything. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was silent, Ningxi suddenly felt a little guilty. The devil wasn't angry, was he? Actually, the reason she dared to do what she did was because she believed that Lu Tingxiao had a level of IQ which would definitely enable him to understand her reasons immediately and even accommodate her. Ningxi would only dare to do so because she believed that Lu Tingxiao had a level of IQ which would definitely enable him to understand her reasons immediately and even accommodate her. At last, the devil indeed cooperated well, and the scene played out flawlessly. However, looking at Lu Tingxiao's reaction, could something have gone wrong? How tragic! Lu Tingxiao wouldn't have thought that this was real, would he? That wasn't like the devil's IQ. In reality, Lu Tingxiao was stunned for a short while, before he instantly understood what Ningxi had been trying to do. His feelings had overrode his rationality, and even though a part of him had known she was acting, he had chosen to believe it as the truth and let himself drown within this dream she created. After a while, Lu Tingxiao finally said something. He tousled Ningxi's hair lightly, then said, "No worries, you did very well." His silence earlier was not because he was angry at her, he just wanted to quietly remember every detail, remember her kiss, her words, and his feelings in that moment. When Ningxi heard his reassurance, she was relieved. However, why did those few words "you did very well" sound so odd? At that moment, Lu Jingli finally could not help but say, brother and sister-in-law, please take a look at me. I have been waiting here for quite some time. Do you guys still want to get in the car?" Ningxi rolled her eyes at Lu Jingli, then carried the little bun into the car. Once they were on their way, Lu Jingli smiled cunningly. "Xiao Shishi, I saw everything just now. Pity my baby little treasure, he was about to be sandwiched. Lu Jingli. I haven't asked you, the more I think about what happened today, the more I find it weird. Even if little treasure was unhappy seeing Shi Shiqing and I dined together, he still wouldn't have cried this hard. Was it you who didn't shut up and say something you shouldn't have to little treasure? Ning Shi suddenly attacked him. Lu Jingli almost pissed in his pants and denied vehemently to save himself, I didn't say anything. Xiao Shi, you're blaming the wrong guy. Ning Shi gritted her teeth, obviously already knowing that it was his fault. Did I blame you wrongly now? I'll just ask little treasure then. See if I really was wrong. Lu Jingli was dumbfounded when he heard this and he quickly looked at his brother to beg silently. Get your Avrite ovals at no/v/e/lbn.com. Bro, save me. If sister-in-law finds out, she will kill me. She will hit me with as much force as she loves little treasure. Lu Tingxiao shot a look at Lu Jingli who looked frightened like a rabbit. Seeing as he had contributed in the past, he said something on his behalf. Ningxi, you said you wanted to let Shi Shiqing give up hope. Do you mean that he was interested in you? Ningxi's attention was successfully diverted by Lu Tingxiao's question. She scratched her head and looked helplessly at him. To be honest, I was stunned too. I do not know how Shi Shiqing ever liked me. We chatted over dinner and that's how I knew that we've met once 5 years ago. But it was only that one time, there were no other interactions. Of course, perhaps I was too sensitive and overthought. No matter what it is, the point is that there aren't any more problems now. Thanks to you, big boss, thank you again. Lu Tingxiao replied, you're welcome. Crisis averted. Lu Jingli wiped away his sweat in relief. Looking at his brother's serious expression, he suddenly regained some of his energy. He thought that this time, his brother didn't perform too badly either. He did not do anything and managed to knock out a rival, and even got a kiss for nothing too. This was too much. For good things like these, he wouldn't mind complaining a few more times. No matter what, the issue was finally resolved. In the car, Ningxi was prepared to call her grandfather to report the situation to him. However, before she called, she still felt troubled. Even though she and Shi Shiqing had already discussed what to say to each other's grandfathers, what if her grandfather refused to give up? Hello, grandfather. Hey, Xiao Shi. Have you met up with the grandson of the Shi family already? How was it? He's not too bad, isn't he? Cough, grandfather, he's not too shabby. But he wasn't interested in me. Ningxi answered. What are you saying? That kid wasn't interested in you? The elder asked agitatedly. No, grandfather, what I mean is that the both of us aren't interested in each other. Please don't try to match us together anymore. Ningxi played out the explanation she and Shi Shiqing had agreed upon. On the other end of the phone, the elder sounded very disappointed. How could this be? I even met up with him first. He doesn't have any disabilities and he looks like a talented young man before I was satisfied enough to let him meet you for a blind date. You don't like someone like him? Then, tell me what's your type, I'll help you look again. I still have another old friend. His grandson. Oh no. Ningxi buried her face in her hands. Grandfather, don't. Grandfather, I really don't want to look for a partner right now. Xiao Shi, trust me, I was once in your shoes. You're at the best age right now. Now is the best time to look for the ideal man. In fact, Ningxi was suffering from a headache when she felt a warm presence beside her. Lu Tingxiao had suddenly sidled up to her and said softly into her ear, "Tell your grandfather that your boss doesn't allow you to date." Ning Shi was astonished. She covered the mouthpiece of her handphone to ask Lu Tingxiao, "What? Didn't Ling Zhizhi tell you? In your current situation, you can't get a boyfriend," Lu Tingxiao said without skipping a beat. Ning Shi's eyes shone when she heard his suggestion. "Right. That's a pretty good reason." Lu Jingli, who was driving, heard this and mumbled, "Haha, right, your boss doesn't allow you to date. He will only allow you to date with the boss himself. Grandfather, I only want to perform well in my job right now. Besides, I'm in the growing phase of my career and our company won't allow me to date." The elder was angry when he heard this. What? Not allowed to date? Why would there be such a company with such a silly rule? Does your boss even understand what human rights are? Ning Shi shot a look at Lu Tingxiao, who had to take the bullet for her. Grandfather, everyone in our industry is in the same boat. If we have boyfriends, the number of fans will drop drastically. In fact, I've just opened up my own studio and will be very busy every day. Next month, I will start promoting my new show and I'll have to run around the country. Then, once I'm done with that, I'll start shooting for a new show. I really don't have the time. Explore new ovals on nvelbai.com. Ning Ziyuan had wanted to mention her joining the company, but from the way she lay everything out, he knew there wasn't a possibility. Even though he felt regretful, hearing how his beloved granddaughter had her own successful career today and was living life to the fullest made him feel very happy. Then, what's going to happen to my great-grandchildren? When can I have some? When she heard the elder's sad sigh, Ning Shi touched the little bun's head and sighed internally too. If only the little bun was my son, that would be great. Everything would be resolved. Grandfather, what if I got a test tube baby? Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli were stupefied. Little Treasure was surprised too, although he wondered to himself, what's a test tube baby? Nonsense. The elder still thought more conservatively, so there was no way he could accept something like this. He was also afraid that he was pushing Ningxi too hard to the point that she would do something outrageous, so he quickly softened his tone. Fine, you're actually still quite young. Go focus on your career first then. Grandfather won't trouble you anymore, but there's just one thing you must promise me. You have to visit me often. This request of mine isn't too much, is it? Ningxi brightened up upon hearing that. Not at all. I will definitely visit you often. After she hung up, Ningxi felt relaxed now that she had finally resolved the matter. In front of the wheel, Lu Jingli was still deep in shock about the test tube baby. He said, "Bro Shi, you're amazing. Even test tube babies are an option for you now." Ningxi rolled her eyes at him. My grandfather wants great-grandchildren, yet I can't find myself a man. What do you think I should do then? Where are you going to get the sperm? Lu Jingli asked. Obviously, the sperm bank. Lu Jingli looked at his brother in the rear-view mirror and mischievously said, "Actually there is ready sperm beside you. In fact, the genes are of extremely good quality." Ningxi obviously knew who Lu Jingli was talking about, so she replied, "Stop. This topic is not suitable for children's ears. To have a baby with the devil." Lu Tingxiao then said, "I'm sure that under natural conditions, the sperm quality will be better." Ningxi rebutted, "That's enough from you guys. I was just saying it without much thought, don't discuss it in too much detail. Little Treasure is still here." When she looked down, thank goodness, Little Treasure had already fallen asleep as a result of the fatigue from his tears. At Regal Riviera Hotel, Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli sent Ningxi and Little Treasure to their doorstep. Lu Tingxiao patted his son's head, then looked up at Ningxi and said, I'm going to leave now. It's been getting colder recently, remember to keep warm at night. Ningxi nodded. Sure, I will. Good night, big boss. Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl longingly. Good night. Lu Jingli yawned. Good night, bro Shi. If there's any more gossip from Shi Shiqing, remember to share it with me. Ningxi shook her head in disbelief at his thirst for gossip. Nothing goes without you. The two started to leave. However, just as Lu Tingxiao turned away, he suddenly felt a little tug on his shirt. He looked down to see that it was Little Treasure, who had suddenly woken up and was peering at him with sleepy eyes. His hand gripped onto his shirt hem, refusing to let go. Lu Tingxiao was stunned. After all, Little Treasure had never shown such an intimate affection towards him. Every time he left Ningxi, that little guy was always doing a happy dance and could never wait for him to leave. Even Lu Jingli and Ningxi were surprised too. What's wrong, Little Treasure? Ningxi asked gently. Diascover dated novels on NOV/E/Lbin.co. Ningxi knew he was looking for his writing board, so she quickly helped him take it out from his bag. The little bun was still holding on to Lu Tingxiao's shirt, while his other hand rubbed the sleep away from his eyes before writing on the board, Father, don't go. These words, before Lu Tingxiao had the chance to react, Lu Jingli started to wail emotionally, Oh. Little Treasure is so warm. I want a son too. I want to have test tube babies now. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao felt a rush of mixed feelings watching his son's little hand holding onto him, the touching words on the writing board, and his tilted head looking at him curiously for a response. Ningxi was already tearing up. The improvement in the little bun's relationship with Lu Tingxiao was something she wanted to see more than anyone else. Lu Tingxiao, how about you just stay over at my place tonight? Accompany Little Treasure. Lu Jingli wanted to run around in joy. Oh! I'm so jealous. How nice was it to have a son? It was as though God had sent assistance himself. Lu Tingxiao actually took a while to react to Ningxi's out-of-the-blue invitation. Even though Little Treasure had always been his trump card, this was the first time the little bun had genuinely taken the initiative to help him. Was it because of what had happened tonight? Then, this was a rare case of getting luck out of a misfortune. Finally, Lu Tingxiao stayed while Lu Jingli the bachelor went home tearfully. In the bedroom, Ningxi accompanied Little Treasure to lie on the bed and sang him to sleep. Lu Tingxiao sat on the other side of the bed, his sleeve still being held on tightly by the little guy. After Little Treasure had been coaxed to sleep, Ningxi asked, Why don't you sleep with Little Treasure tonight? I'll sleep in the guest room. We can sleep together, said Lu Tingxiao without a hitch. Ningxi was shocked to hear his proposition and felt slightly awkward. She scratched her head and said, Ah? That would not be too appropriate, would it? Lu Tingxiao replied, No, I don't mind. Ningxi was speechless. The devil was getting naughty. The big boss already said he didn't mind being taken advantage of, but could she say that she did? It was a good thing that the bed was huge, so even with the little bun in the middle, each of them had their own personal space. When Ningxi entered the room after finishing her shower, Lu Tingxiao was already lying on the bed. His hair was wet and messy post-shower, while he wore pajamas and was looking at Little Treasure with a gentle gaze, like an ordinary father. Ningxi felt her heart beat faster at the sight of them together. When he heard her footsteps, Lu Tingxiao looked up and ordered her, Finish the milk before going to bed. Oh! Why did it feel like Lu Tingxiao had two children to look after? After Ningxi finished the milk, she lay on the other side of Little Treasure. Lu Tingxiao turned off the light and only left a dim night light on. He lay on his side and kissed his son's forehead. Seeing Ningxi watch him, Lu Tingxiao raised his brows. You want a good night kiss too? Ningxi widened her eyes and shook her head quickly. She was just thinking to herself that the way the devil took such gentle care of little treasure was so charming that she could not help but to continue looking a little longer. There was no way that she would have such inappropriate motives. Lu Tingxiao's eyes shone teasingly, then he suddenly leaned over little treasure. With Ningxi's eyes still in its bewildered state, he kissed her on the lips. Ningxi was shocked. Damn it! Devil, what are you doing? Didn't we already say we were just accompanying little treasure to sleep? Lu Tingxiao squinted his eyes and told her, this is my reward for helping you take that bullet today. Ningxi was speechless. She had nothing to reply to him. The next morning, Ningxi woke up in a daze and felt like she had never slept that well before. She had no dreams the entire night and her whole body felt warm, so warm that she did not want to wake up. Discover dated novels on NOV/E/Lbin.co. No, she still had to wake up to make a healthy breakfast for the little bun. Ningxi finally opened up her eyes. The moment she did, what she saw was a bare chest. What? Damn it! What was going on? Why would she sleep so carelessly? She didn't know how ended up on Lu Tingxiao's side. In fact, her entire body was sprawled on him until his pajamas had been messed up by her, revealing his peach-colored skin. As for her hand, it was casually lying on his naked belly and chest. Ningxi quickly got up and initially wanted to move back to her own side, but in her panic, she accidentally touched Lu Tingxiao, in a place she shouldn't have. The man grunted, then slowly opened his eyes. His eyes glimmered and her panicked and stunned face was reflected. Ningxi swallowed her saliva and quickly thought of how to explain the awkward situation. Damn it! How could she explain? What could she possibly say in such a situation? Even getting caught cheating with someone else in bed would not be this difficult to explain. Ningxi's brain was about to be fried. However, in the next second, Lu Tingxiao used his beautiful dazed eyes to stare at her for a few seconds, before he suddenly turned around. Ningxi felt like her world had turned upside down when she was pushed onto the bed before she could even figure out what was happening. The shadow above her inched closer, then what came next was a wave of warmth as he delivered an intense kiss. Ningxi was shocked by Lu Tingxiao's sudden actions. It felt as if the air in her chest was becoming increasingly thin and her brain was fogging up. The emotions and physical reactions that were happening were so overwhelming, so much so that the feelings she had suppressed in her heart were almost lured out by the kiss. She felt as if the world was coming to an end and that her body wanted to respond involuntarily despite her mind telling her otherwise. What was worse was the strong reaction from his lower torso that she could feel hardening between them. Damn it, Ningxi! Wake up! Wake up! Baby little treasure was still sleeping beside them. Discover dated novels on NOV/E/Lbin.co. Helplessly, she struggled to gather herself. Lu Tingxiao, on the other hand, did not. He felt like he wanted to devour her whole with that all-consuming kiss. Ningxi had no choice but to bite down with force, her mouth instantly filled with the metallic taste of blood. Lu Tingxiao frowned and stopped. Ningxi took advantage of this single second to push him away and said between gasps, "Hey, Lu Tingxiao. Are you sleepwalking?" If he really was, this question would have no effect. Wait, that did not seem right either. Shouldn't sleepwalking happen only at night? The sun was already up. The confused man started to gain clarity and said in a hoarse voice, "No." Ningxi blinked as her heart skipped a beat. No? Lu Tingxiao's long fingers brushed through his hair as lust lingered in his eyes. Sorry, I wasn't clear-headed earlier. I thought that I was dreaming. Ningxi was speechless. What could she say to answer him? Was it possible that in his dreams, the devil actually wanted to seduce her and kiss the life out of her? In fact, the Lu Tingxiao earlier was really different from the Lu Tingxiao she usually saw. That kiss earlier was far too overbearing. So overbearing that it made her worry a little. You, what were you doing just now? Lu Tingxiao suddenly asked before Ningxi could say anything. In fact, with this one sentence, he changed his position from being the villain to being the victim. When she heard his question, Ningxi actually felt guilty. She stammered, well, would you believe me if I said even I don't know? Lu Tingxiao looked deeply into her eyes, clearly full of disbelief. Ningxi looked extremely sincere. Big boss, I swear to God, I really don't know how, but we were like this when I woke up. I usually sleep much more gracefully, whatever it is, this was an accident. Ningxi mumbled quietly, you did something similar to me just now. So, are we even now? Lu Tingxiao gave it some thought, then he nodded, fine, we're even. Ningxi let out a sigh of relief. However, something still felt odd. This was not right, how was this even? She was the one who was at a disadvantage. Whatever. She was the one who rolled over. Had it not been for that, what Lu Tingxiao did after would not have happened. Well, boss, can you get up? I need to go and make breakfast. Ningxi asked weakly, trying to make an escape. Lu Tingxiao did not act right away. He looked her into her eyes instead, staring intensely. Ningxi had no idea how she looked like at that moment. The girl's cheek blushed attractively, her lips slightly swollen from the passionate kissing. Her pajamas were crumpled and her long raven black hair billowed out on the feathered pillow like ink. Lu Tingxiao started to question how was it possible that he had been containing his wild intentions all this while. Lu Tingxiao? Ningxi asked uncertainly, feeling creeped out by his laser stare. Lu Tingxiao returned to his usual self and propped himself up. Ningxi shot away like a rabbit. She quickly served a nutritious spread for breakfast, then proceeded to call both Lu Tingxiao and the little bun to the table. The little bun looked really overjoyed today, his face shone brighter than usual and he ate a lot more than his usual portion. A moment ago, Ningxi still regretted having Lu Tingxiao stay over last night after reflecting on how inappropriate it was, but she changed her mind upon seeing how happy little treasure was. The little bun was always top priority in her heart and nothing mattered as long as he was happy. After breakfast, Lu Tingxiao read the newspaper on the sofa as the little bun sat beside him and communicated to him through his writing board while holding a book from Ningxi despite not understanding its contents. They both painted a warm portrait together under the sun, emitting a calm aura that brought a sense of love and kinship to anyone who watched them. Suddenly, Ningxi's phone rang. Ningxi took a look at her phone and was surprised to see that it was her grandfather calling. Lu Tingxiao noticed that something was amiss, so he asked, "What happened?" "Who's that calling?" "It's my grandfather." Ningxi frowned. Did they not settle everything last night? Did grandfather change his mind? Ningxi chewed on her lip and picked up the call nervously. "Hello, grandfather." "Xiao Shi. I've got something to ask you." "Are you hiding anything from me?" the elder asked her directly in an oddly grave tone. Ningxi replied, "Ah? What do you mean? Nothing out of the ordinary has happened. I'm talking about Shi Shiqing." Ningxi had a bad feeling when she heard the name. Could Shi Shiqing have broken his promise and said something he shouldn't have? Impossible, he did not look like someone who would break a promise. "Grandfather, what happened to Mr. Shi?" "I really don't know what you're talking about." The elder sounded fairly angry as he berated her. You don't? Then, can you explain to me why he decided to become a monk after meeting you yesterday? What? What did grandfather just say? Ningxi was startled and she almost dropped the phone. Grandfather, what are you talking about? Become a monk? Shi Shiqing is going to become a monk? Grandfather, are you sure? Are you pulling my leg? Ningxi probed, not believing what the elder just said. Lu Tingxiao frowned incredulously as he listened to Ningxi's conversation with her grandfather. He thought that the matter with Shi Shiqing had been settled last night. How in the world did this happen? The elder fumed. Why would I kid you at a time like this? That young man from the Shi family is already at the temple. He's going to shave his hair off this afternoon. Which part of this sounds like a joke? Ningxi was confused and she sputtered, This is impossible. Could there be some other reason? Why would you think that it was because of me? What else could it be? He was acting all fine before he left, but he suddenly told his family he wanted to become a monk after having dinner with you. You are the biggest suspect. The elder continued, Xiao Shi, please think about what happened last night. Being a monk is not a trivial matter. If it's related to you, how can I face Elder Shi at this rate? Ningxi suddenly felt guilty. Actually, quite a lot happened last night. Did she try too hard to get her message clearly across to him? Regardless, it would not have reached the point that he would decide to become a monk immediately. Grandfather, where are you now? She queried, hearing chanting in the background. I'm at the Fahua temple right now. Shiqing's grandfather and parents are here as well. Xiao Shi, please come over as I can't explain everything to you over the phone clearly. All right, I'll be right there. After she hung up, Ningxi gave Lu Tingxiao an alarmed look. The devil's attack sure packed a great punch of destructive power. Shi Shiqing is going to become a monk? Ningxi nodded and stood up to leave. Yes, and it seems like it was because of me. I need to go to Fahua Temple at once. I'll go with you. You updates tnvel/buy.com. Forget it. What if he does something even more insane after he sees you? Ningxi said bitterly. I'll send you to the entrance of the temple. But you'll be late for work. Nothing much is happening in the morning. Just a meeting which I can get Jingli to attend on behalf of me instead. Lu Tingxiao was already calling Lu Jingli as he said this. Lu Jingli's cheerful voice answered the phone. Hello, bro. What's up so early in the morning? Oh, did something happen? Heh. I can't attend the meeting later. Please attend it in my stead, Lu Tingxiao said calmly. Lu Jingli's happiness was suddenly deflated. Aw. Can't you go? What happened last night? Did you and Xiao Shi? Shi Shiqing is going to become a monk now and I need to go to Fahua Temple with Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao's reply stopped Lu Jingli's wild imagination in its tracks. What? Lu Jingli gasped in shock. Become a monk? Are you kidding me? Lu Jingli still could not believe what he had just heard. This latest development was a gossip's fantasy. Most importantly, how could he be left out in such an important moment? He quickly gave his manager a call and have him hold the meeting instead, then he sped off to Fahua Temple. At Fahua Temple, Lu Tingxiao waited in the car with little treasure while Ningxi rushed to her grandfather. She avoided the morning crowd and walked directly to the backyard of the temple, then she saw a familiar silhouette standing together with a middle-aged couple. They should be Shi Shiqing's parents, she thought to herself. Grandfather. Xiao Shi, come over here. Ning Ziyuan quickly called out to her granddaughter. Grandfather Shi, uncle, auntie. Ningxi greeted them, feeling apprehensive. The three Shi family members welcomed her warmly. Mother Shi even held Ningxi's hands as if she was their savior. She gushed, "Are you Xiaoxi? You look like a really obedient and filial child. Shi Shiqing has been telling us all about you after you got back." Ningxi was surprised by the praises coming from his mother, as she had expected a good scolding instead. "Please don't be afraid, my dear. Your grandfather was overreacting over the phone just now. We all know that this matter is not related to you. Shiqing told us last night that he felt that both of you are better suited as friends." With a huge internal whoosh, Ningxi felt relieved and guilty at the same time. She was suspecting that Shi Shiqing had spilt the beans about their deal, but he had not said anything and even praised her instead. Damn it! She had hoped that he was just another rich playboy since she could handle them better, but... Mother Shi continued to hold her hands as she said with tearful red eyes, "We didn't really mean to trouble you here. It's just that we've thought of everything we could, but we still don't understand why he decided to become a monk, so we asked you to come here as our last hope. From his tone last night, I can see that he really bears a torch for you, so I think he might just listen to you. Would you please persuade Shiqing for me?" Elder Shi spoke up. "Bears a torch? Pfft. I bet that boy has fallen in love with Xiaoxi instead of just admiring her. He rejected me when I first told him that I have arranged a blind date for him, but his attitude took a 180-degree turn when he knew it was Xiaoxi I was setting him up with." Find the new ST Evels on n//velben.com. Then, why did he say Xiaoxi wasn't his type and that they were better suited as friends? Mother Shi asked in confusion. Father Shi vocalized his thoughts. "Our son is a passive chap. He'd never compete with anyone. Moreover, he's been learning about Buddhism since he was young, making him even less competitive. I bet he realized that Xiaoxi had no special feelings for him whatsoever, so he chose to hide his real feelings inside." The elders started making their own assumptions without waiting for Ningxi's explanation. Mother Shi agreed with Father Shi's analysis. Qingqing might really resort to this solution after all that. It does sound plausible. Father Shi said, his voice on edge, "I've been worried that this would happen one day since he has been obsessed with studying Buddhism. I should have stopped him earlier while I could." As Elder Shi was going to lecture his son about his inappropriate words about Buddhism, he stopped when he thought of his grandson's current situation. Albeit being a religious Buddhist, he still could not accept his grandson becoming a monk. From the conversation between his parents and his grandfather, Ningxi found out why Shi Shiqing was such a nice person. They were all kind people, comforting her instead of blaming her or scolding her right away, which was what she had expected. This made Ningxi felt even guiltier. EAD new chapter S on no/v/e/ln.com. It would not sit well with her if she was the actual reason Shi Shiqing decided to become a monk. She was doubtful earlier, but from their conversation earlier and how they could not think of any other reason for his sudden decision, then it might just boil down to last night's incident. "Well, since I'm already here, I don't have much confidence, but I'll try my best, all right?" Ningxi told them. Mother Shi was very grateful and she squeezed Ningxi's hands. "That's great, Xiaoxi. Thank you." Father Shi's expression softened. "You don't have to pressure yourself too much. His decision isn't related to you anyway, but just give it a try." They tried to conceal their intense worry when comforting Ningxi since she was now their only hope left. Ningxi took a deep breath and walked towards the room Shi Shiqing was in. Ning Ziyuan mumbled, "Let's hope that Xiaoxi can really persuade Shiqing." He was actually not confident at all. Shiqing looked really determined and probably nothing could deter him even if his reason for becoming a monk was related to Ningxi. Ningxi finally reached the room. Following a path of mossy green pebbles, there was a quiet yard where flowers bloomed amongst lush bamboo plants and Zen seemed to be gentle dynamic energy flowing around. The door to the room was opened and a curtain billowed in the wind. The air was silent but not stifling, still as if it was a different world compared to the outside. Ningxi went up to the entrance and hesitated a little, then she lifted the curtain up. Through the window, Shi Shiqing sat quietly behind a screen full of Buddhist scriptures with a scripture in his hands. He was obviously very focused on going through it. Despite wearing a suit, he already imbued the character of a monk's. Ningxi realized that she actually felt frightened of this version of Shi Shiqing. It had just been one night. How did he suddenly change into such a different person? He was a clean-cut man before but a worldly one. The Shi Shiqing before Ningxi now seemed as if he had lost all his earthly desires. Ningxi had a splitting headache throbbing. Shi Shiqing's situation was much direr than she had thought. She could not back out now. She had to take responsibility for what she had done, and the people outside were waiting for her. Ningxi took a deep breath, then walked towards him. Shi Shiqing closed the scripture he was holding and looked up when he heard some footsteps. Shi Shiqing's eyes were tranquil, he did not react much even after he saw who had come in. Benefactress Ning. Ningxi felt immensely helpless against him. He was so determined, even using benefactress to address her now. Ningxi pinched the space between her eyebrows, sitting right across Shi Shiqing as she released a long sigh. Bro, what are you doing? Why have you suddenly decided to become a monk? I made this decision after quite a long consideration. If you, Benefactress Ning, are here to persuade me, you may leave now. Is it because of me? Ningxi asked directly. It was all my decision, it is unrelated to anyone. Ningxi took a deep breath and probed further. May I know why? Even if it was because of what happened last night when you found out that there's someone else whom I like, you don't have to go so far. This is too illogical. Everything is just momentary. A moment of heaven, a moment of hell, a moment of life, a moment of death. Ningxi was on the verge of crying. Dear Lord, can you please speak like a normal person? She was feeling genuinely terrified. Benefactress Ning, if you feel guilty, you don't have to because it truly is my own decision, Shi Shiqing replied. What about your parents and your grandfather? Don't you care about them anymore? They've been with you through the years and now you just suddenly decided to become a monk and desert them? Ariad updated estirise at n/vel/bin.com. This is my fate. They still have Shixian. Ningxi recalled him mentioning that he had a younger brother. He really had everything well thought out and was fully resolved to become a monk. My lord, Mr. Shi Shiqing? Can you please give it some more thought? Becoming a monk is not a trivial matter. 3 days. Just wait 3 more days to think it over. It's not too late to make your decision by then. Ningxi tried to persuade him. I've already finalized my decision. Please return now, and from now on, you may address me by my Buddhist name, Yuan Qing. Shi Shiqing gestured for her to exit the room. Yuan Qing, Shi Shiqing. Why are you being so stubborn? Ningxi's eyes were burning with rage and frustration. He looked so soft and gentle, but he sure was stubborn like an ox. She almost wanted to knock him out and bring him back by force. Shi Shiqing still did not move an inch, sitting in his place like an old rock. Ningxi was already tired from all the talking, but she was still not able to persuade him. Suddenly, she got another phone call from her grandfather. Ningxi went out of the room to pick up the call. Hello, grandfather. Xiao Shi, what took you so long? How did it go? Ningxi's heart sank with disappointment in herself. I'm sorry, grandfather, I've tried my best, but it's not working. The elder sighed. Well, I expected this to happen. Come back here, Xiao Shi. Ningxi ground out between her teeth, don't worry, grandfather. Please wait for a little while. Go and find someplace to rest and have a meal, I'll try again. Okay, don't overexert yourself. And wait, Uncle Shi wants to talk to you. Father Shi was on the line now, saying, just come back here, Xiao Shi. You don't understand Shi Qing. While he may look soft on the outside, he won't compromise once he has decided on something. He really is that adamant. He's right, Xiao Shi. Don't push yourself too hard, we're not blaming you. It really isn't your fault, Mother Shi echoed, afraid that Ningxi was putting all the blame on herself. Uncle, Auntie, I understand, but I won't back off until I've tried everything I can. Let me give it one more shot. Ningxi's expression changed swiftly after she ended the call. Knocking him out and taking him back by force would not be the best solution. If Shi Qing was not going to change his mind, he would just leave after he waking up anyway. What should she do? At the same time, a black car was parked under a big tree near the temple. Lu Tingxiao frowned as he checked the time on his phone. What's taking her so long? Lu Jingli had already arrived to meet his brother. Lu Tingxiao got out of the car to light a cigarette, looking impatient. Lu Jingli scratched his head and tailed his brother. We can't just sit here and wait. Should we go in and see what's happening? I can't. Ugh, okay, you're not the best person to go, you might make him go crazy again. Lu Jingli mumbled. He then said, I'll go then. I'll just go and check on what's happening. It'd be really terrible if the Shis pressured Ningxi and she's forced to tell them what actually happened last night. They might even force her to try and get together with Shi Qing for a little while. This was what Lu Tingxiao had been worrying about. With Ningxi's personality, if people from the Ning family went soft on her, she would definitely try everything she could to bring Shi Qing back. Bro, I'll go now, I'll let you know immediately if anything happens. I'll stop sister-in-law if she's going to try something risky. Lu Jingli went in as Lu Tingxiao kept silent. Little Treasure poked his little head out from the car and held up his writing board. Father, is there anything that I can help with? The little guy was actually going to cooperate after what happened last night. Lu Tingxiao looked at his son with a loving gaze. Thank you, but you can't help me this time. The little bun looked down disappointedly. Ningxi went back into the room once again. After asking around, Lu Jingli quickly went to the Zen room. Visit N0VL/BEIN. For the best novel reading experience. Shi Qing saw Ningxi return, but he remained expressionless as if his world only consisted of him and the scripture book he was holding. There was only the Buddha in his heart, and he was completely determined to ascend towards the true meaning of Buddhism. Ningxi stepped right in front of him and snatched his book of scripture out of his hands. As expected, Shi Qing was not angry and stayed calm in his seated position. Ningxi tossed the book away and closed in on Shi Qing swiftly, one of her knee positioned beside his torso, an arm crossing over him and her face a millimeter close to his, nearly at point blank. Shi Qing's eyebrows twitched ever so slightly. As he was about to say something, Ningxi stole his chance as she pressed on his shoulder and held him down, using her body to envelope his at the same time. Outside the room, Lu Jingli was just peeking in from the window when he saw this earth-shattering scene. Sister-in-law had actually flopped onto Shi Qing and made him topple over. In that moment, Lu Jingli was so intimidated that his heart almost leaped out of him. What to do, what to do? Should he go in to stop them? Oh, what a classic combination, the monk devoid of worldly desires and the wild and unruly but alluring woman. He suddenly felt that they made an oddly good match. Damn it! If his brother ever found out that he had such a thought, he would definitely be a corpse. Not only did Ningxi topple Shi Shiqing over, she also dragged her warm and slim fingers across his brow all the way to his lips and even inched closer towards him in a deliciously slow, torturous way. At this moment, Shi Shiqing was akin to a lake of stagnant water that suddenly met a storm. His entire body was rigid like a bow pulled to its maximum tension. His long fingers were balled tightly into a fist and even his breath was out of rhythm, bordering on raggedy inhalations. As he watched Ningxi's lips about to plant on him, he shut his eyes tightly as if in denial and tried to turn his head away slightly as blood rushed to his ears. Just as his entire being was being shaken to the core, he heard a cold voice beside his ear saying, "The bonds of the world are still there. Your 6 roots of sensations aren't pure and clean. Shi Shiqing, how can you become a monk? What kind of religious life are you trying to take refuge in? What kind of monk will you be? Aren't you afraid of contaminating Buddhist sacred grounds?" Most up-to-date novels are published on n0velgen.co/m. Upon hearing her bold statement, Shi Shiqing's boiling blood instantly cooled down, his face as pale as a ghost. Outside the window, Lu Jingli watched, starstruck. Wow. My sister-in-law is way too cool. He would never have thought of such an ingenious trick. Thank goodness he had not rushed in on impulse, or else he would have ruined her plans. Shi Shiqing opened up his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he did not utter a single word. He just opened and closed his mouth like a goldfish. Even when he had debated with Master Xian Jing about Buddhism teachings, he had never lost, yet, at this very moment, he was utterly speechless. Because he could not control his own heart, he could not control his feelings and his desire. As she watched Shi Shiqing trying to come to terms with his failure, Ningxi squinted and prodded at him. "What is it? Still in denial? Do you want me to continue?" "No, there's no need." Panic flashed across Shi Shiqing's eyes and he looked miserable. "You're right, my 6 roots of sensations are impure and corrupted." Ningxi then got up and walked towards Shi Shiqing to offer her hand to help him up. Even though she was aware that her trick was cruel in nature, she knew that she had to be harsh to defeat Shi Shiqing in such a stubborn situation. At that moment, all serenity vanished from Shi Shiqing's face. He did not know how to describe his current feelings at all. No one, including Ningxi, could understand why he would make such a rash decision. He had waited for 5 whole years before such an opportunity was unexpectedly presented before him. However, before he could properly appreciate it, the window of opportunity turned into a slab of concrete. If he had never had hope in the first place, maybe he would not feel such a dark cloud of despair. Even now he could still reminisce the moment he watched them hug and kiss each other, the kind of ache that tore his heart apart bubbling from within again. Then, he remembered that the man was the CEO of the Lu Corporation, Lu Tingxiao. Even though he had only met him once at the ribbon-cutting ceremony at Jade Treasury for its inaugural opening, he definitely recognized him. Had it been someone else, he might still stand a chance to compete for Ningxi's affections, but it was Lu Tingxiao. Of all people, it had to be him. Before he could even do anything, he had already lost the battle miserably. Coming from a wealthy family, he had never faced any obstacles since he was young. He never had anything he particularly desired either because as long as he mentioned it, it would be his. This led to him developing a personality that neither fought nor begged for anything. Life, to him, seemed to be something that he was indifferent to. His existence in this world felt like an identity of an outsider's. Until Ningxi's appearance, and her appearance once again 5 years later. It had completely shattered that layer which dissociated him with the world. It made him long for something for the first time. Precisely because it was too precious, he felt intense despair when he lost it. He had thought that in this lifetime, there was nothing else he wanted anymore. When he came to look for Master Xianjing and asked him to accept him as a disciple, Master Xianjing had even agreed to help him with the tonsure of his hair because his state of mind at that period of time was absolutely void of worldly temptations. But now, because of her single action, she had completed pulling him back into this dreadful worldly realm. Perhaps, she really was his fated inexorable doom. Shi Shiqing's expression revealed hints of his compromise to accept his fate. Seeing Shi Shiqing's resignation, Ningxi secretly let out an exhalation of relief, knowing that she had succeeded. Going home? Ningxi looked at him with a tilt of her head. I have to go to speak to Master Xianjing. When Ningxi heard this, alarms rang in her head. She quickly offered, I'll accompany you. She had finally managed to pull him back after so much effort. His talking to Master Xianjing might undo her hard work. Shi Shiqing wanted to tell her that there was no need, but by looking at the determination in her pair of fiery eyes, he could empathize with her concern, so he just let her tag along. In the hall, Master Xianjing seemed unsurprised by Shi Shiqing's arrival. However, when he saw Ningxi behind him, his gaze became broody. Abbot, my apologies, this disciple of yours is not done with the worldly realm yet, my state of mind has not calmed down to a steady flow. I feel I don't have the right to be part of the monastery at this point in time. In front of the master himself, Ningxi actually felt slightly guilty. After all, this was because of her cunning tricks. Aside from the fact that Shi Shiqing was not yet a monk, he was still at an age where, as a high-spirited young man, his state of mind was still fleeting. There were not many who could actually withstand such temptations in the world, especially if they had yet to experience them. Thankfully, Xianjing did not ask further or make any attempts of convincing him. Everything has been predestined. You may go now. New chapters will be fully updated at novl/bin.com. Ningxi watched this wise old monk in front of her and felt a little curious. Was this the fabled Master Xianjing? The one who gave that jade bead bracelet which had an affinity with her? Ha! She finally met the person himself. Now, if he could help her check on her luck, whether blessed or ill, that would be great. Perhaps it was best to forget it. To let a master of his level investigate her luck was no different than asking a legendary godlike character to wipe out a small village and to get rid of minions. Just then, Xianjing unexpectedly initiated the conversation. Young benefactress, is there anything I can help you with? Me? Since Xianjing had asked first, Ningxi decided to be thick-skinned and just ask anyway. At most, she would just be rejected. Master, you really are observant. Indeed, well, it's like this, I keep feeling restless recently. I wonder if, Master, you could offer me some words of wisdom? When Xianjing heard this, his bright eyes evaluated her briefly, then he whispered something to the monk beside him. Soon after, that monk brought over a pen and paper. Then, Xianjing started to write on the paper with the calligraphy pen. After he finished, Ningxi held up the paper to look and was stunned. The master had not written any words. Instead, he had drawn a flower. What could that possibly mean? Ningxi had meant to clarify, but at that moment, a little monk ran over and reminded Xianjing that the Dharma assembly was about to start. Xianjing did not seem like he had any intention of explaining the meaning of his cryptic message. He immediately bade farewell to Shi Shiqing and Ningxi before leaving quickly. Ningxi could only turn to Shi Shiqing, confused. Mr. Shi, you ought to understand the master better than I do. Look at this flower he drew me. What could it mean? Shi Shiqing held up the paper and analyzed it closely, but he had no clue either. I cannot guess Abbot's thought process either. After he said that, Shi Shurqing expressed his surprise to her. Every day, many people ask the master similar questions, and every time, his answer would run along the lines that everything has been destined. Very unexpected of him to actually draw something personally for you. Ningxi's mouth twitched as she softly mumbled, "Well, if you put it like that, even though I feel honored, this flower is a little too mysterious, isn't it? Forget it, I'll go home and sleep on it." Just before they were leaving the hall, Shi Shurqing turned around and stared at the Buddha statue for quite a while. Ningxi put her hand over his shoulders and firmly steered him around, not letting him look any longer. "Hey, don't look anymore. What's so good about being a monk? You recite the Buddhist scripture every day, you can't drink or eat meat, you can't even get married. Next time, I'll treat you to drinks and prepare a carnivorous feast for you. I guarantee that you won't want to become a monk ever again. What's the difference between a life where you can't pick up girls and being a salted fish?" Ningxi was using all her brain juice to come up with endless reasons not to become a monk. Shi Shurqing finally stopped looking at the statue and faced her instead, with clear eyes reflecting nothing but her. After half a day of hard work, Ningxi did not disappoint and brought Shi Shurqing home after all. At this moment, Mother Shi was silently crying at the hut. She had already lost hope of her son ever changing his mind. Father Shi looked troubled. Even though Elder Shi did not say anything, he was the most pressured of all the Shi family members. After all, the reason his grandson had such a determination to learn Buddhist teachings could be attributed to his influence. Why is this taking so long? Elder Ning anxiously looked out for the duo for half a day. Elder Shi sighed, "Old Ning, tell Ningxi to come back. We'll think of something again. In such a short time frame, what can we come up with?" Mother Shi looked at the time, exclaiming, "There's still another half an hour before Qingqing is going to go bald." Her fat drops of tears fell even faster. "If my Qingqing really becomes a monk, I'll shave and become a nun too." Father Shi panicked at the sound of his, and he admonished, "You, what nonsense are you spewing? Such rubbish! How am I being nonsensical now? Our son's already becoming a monk, what more is there for me? So, you'll just stop caring for our other son, Shurxian, and forget about me?" The entire family was still debating anxiously when they suddenly saw someone walking over from the end of the corridor. Ningxi was back. Mother Shi was about to console Ningxi so she wouldn't feel too bad, but in the next second, they saw a familiar shadow trailing after her. It was her precious son. Mother Shi was instantly astonished, then she cried in elation, "Qingqing! Shurqing!" Mother Shi, Grandfather Shi and Elder Ning were surprised and happy to see Shi Shurqing. However, uncertainty loomed in their hearts. Could this be their final meeting before he took the plunge to go bald? Get latest LCHers on nvelbj/n.c/m. Until Shi Shurqing walked in front of them and called out one by one, "Father, Mother, Grandfather, Grandfather Ning." Wait, he had actually stopped saying, "Benefactor this, benefactor that." Did this mean that he changed his mind and is not becoming a monk anymore? Mother Shi's eyes welled up, she could not hold it in anymore and started to hug her son and cry, "Qingqing, you frightened me." Father Shi rejoiced as well and took Ningxi's hands to say, "Shaoxi, thank you. Thank you." If it hadn't been for Ningxi, he would have lost both his wife and son to the monastery. "Shi, how did you manage to advise Shurqing?" Elder Shi asked emotionally. "Yeah, Shaoxi, Auntie really doesn't know how to thank you." Obviously, Ningxi could not tell them outright how she did it, so she quickly waved her hand and coughed, "Uncle, Auntie, Grandfather Shi, I didn't actually do anything. When I went there, Mr. Shi had already been moved by your bits of advice. All of it was your doing, not mine." "Sweet child, you're too humble." Mother, she looked at the girl in front of her with her bright eyes, pearly white teeth, and simple dressing. The more she looked at her, the more she liked what she saw. In fact, no one could move her son with any advice, yet, this girl had done it. It only confirmed that her son's feelings towards this girl were definitely out of the ordinary. Most up-to-date novels are published on n0velgen.co/m. If she could matchmake the two of them, then she would not have to worry about her son having any thoughts of becoming a monk again. Shall she come to our house for dinner tonight? No matter what, this time I must thank you properly. Elder, she nodded firmly. This is a must. Elder Ning observed the mannerisms of the Shi family, knowing what they were thinking, and he naturally was happy about it as well. At the same time, in the black car outside the Buddhist temple. Bro, I'm back. Don't worry, sister-in-law has settled everything in her majorly cool way. All unscathed. Lu Jingli intentionally put on a relaxed grin and spoke as if nothing odd had happened as he reported to his brother. However, when Lu Tingxiao's unpredictable eyes shot a look at him, Lu Jingli shuddered for no reason. What is it, bro? He really held on to sealing his steadfast lips and did not blurt anything. Lu Tingxiao's eyes squinted, his gaze piercing through one's soul. He asked quietly, all left unscathed? Yeah. What's wrong? Lu Jingli said innocently. Tell me the truth. The air around Lu Tingxiao suddenly stilled. Lu Jingli blinked his eyes and said in the sincerest tone, Bro, I'm telling the truth. Sister-in-law did not agree to any of Shi Shiqing's unreasonable requests at all. The truth about last night didn't even come out. Isn't this deemed leaving unscathed? Haha, how could he tell the truth and dig his own grave? From an outsider's point of view, Ning Shi's trick was smart and cool, but to Lu Tingxiao, that would definitely be seen as a lightning strike that could level an entire city. The worst thing was that he had not stopped her in time because he was stunned by what he had seen. Just this one scene he witnessed could send him to death 100 times. Don't let me ask a second time. The moment Lu Tingxiao warned him, the air pressure dropped and it felt like the instant before a tornado hits. Initially, he did not want to think too much about it, but he knew Lu Jingli too well. The calmer the man seemed, the higher the plausibility was that something had happened. In fact, it most likely was not something small. Lu Jingli had seen Lu Tingxiao in a similar current situation once, many years ago. That was when Lu Tingxiao had rearranged the entire family's internal structure and questioned everyone to find out who was the mole. Even the mole lost it on the spot when confronted with his quaking anger. Lu Jingli trembled as he thought to himself, damn it. I am your biological brother. Do you have to use that style of criminal interrogation with me? Where's your humanity? Forget it, ever since sister-in-law appeared, he was not in the mood to play anymore. Just as Lu Jingli was silently throwing daggered insults at him, Lu Tingxiao continued focusing his pressuring aura on his brother. Little Treasure was concentrating on his drawing, oblivious to all that was happening around him. Facing his brother's cool gaze, Lu Jingli felt his goosebumps rise as his entire body shivered. Damn it! He couldn't hold on anymore. Sister-in-law really didn't do anything, she just toppled Shi Shiqing over to tease him a little. Then, Shi Shiqing obviously couldn't control himself, he immediately blushed so hard. Sister-in-law grabbed the opportunity to trigger him by saying that his thoughts were not pure enough, that he would contaminate the sacredness of Buddhism and that he was not suitable to become a monk. Lu Jingli spat everything out honestly. If the devil Lu really knew sorcery, the glass on these car windows would have shattered by then and there would be a complete devastation of the land within a 100-meter radius. Lu Jingli was so frightened that his heart was about to stop. He silently hugged the only one outside of the storm, Little Treasure, for protection. Little Treasure was just focused on drawing and had not heard what Lu Jingli said. When he felt his second uncle suddenly hug him, his little face frowned, then he looked down to scribble a line of words on his writing board, exclusively for Auntie Xiaoxi. He meant to say, yours truly is exclusive for Auntie Xiaoxi only, you cannot simply hug me. Lu Jingli looked at the line of words in disbelief. Oh! Why is the entire world hurting me? Because Lu Tingxiao and the rest were still waiting for her, Ningxi politely declined the Shi family's invitation to dinner. Despite knowing that she might possibly be putting herself in a difficult situation, she promised that she would go over the next time. I'm back. Everything is settled. Let's go. The moment Ningxi tugged the car door open, Lu Jingli, who was threatened by his brother and despised by Little Treasure, immediately lamented, sister-in-law, the both of them are bullying me. Haha, sister-in-law. It seems that if I don't beat you up, you would never regain your memory. Ningxi started to evilly crack her knuckles. Lu Jingli instantly felt lambasted and he peered out of the window, mumbling, this heartless world, I too want to become a monk and be done with everything. Geet the L testvels on no/v/elben. C/om. Ningxi ignored him as she took out the flower Master Xian Jing had drawn for her and started examining it. Lu Jingli was immediately attracted to the thing in Ningxi's hand. He exclaimed, sis, bro Shi, what's this? A flower. Did Shi Shiqing give it to you? What nonsense. This is Master Xian Jing's message to me. Huh? This is obviously a flower. Lu Jingli indicated that his eyes were not blind. Ningxi turned the flower around repeatedly but still could not see anything. Sigh, master is such a master, I don't understand what the meaning of this is at all. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She quickly popped her head over the shotgun seat and said, Big boss, you're so knowledgeable, you must know something about this. Help me take a look. The girl's head randomly appeared beside his ear, her warm breath lingering and penetrating Lu Tingxiao's shield of cool aura. He took the piece of paper to look closely and after a while, he frowned slightly. Why did Abbot offer you a word? Ningxi scratched her head. I just simply asked. I said that recently I felt restless and if he could offer me some wisdom or something. Then, he drew this flower and gave it to me without saying what it meant. He couldn't possibly be complimenting me on my beauty, could he? It was indeed difficult to guess the meaning within the strange flower. Even Lu Tingxiao could not immediately think of what it could mean. That was when Lu Jingli looked over and said with a surprised expression, Is this very hard to fathom? Master Xian Jing's thoughts are so obvious. Obvious? What's obvious? Ningxi was confused, although Lu Jingli's thought process was unlike the run-of-the-mill person. Lu Jingli blinked. Look for yourself, the question you asked was probably about good or ill luck and what Master Xian Jing drew was a peach blossom. Isn't this obvious that you recently have misfortune in romance? Ningxi stuttered, romance, misfortune. Lu Tingxiao was speechless. Lu Jingli looked innocently. Did I say something wrong? Ningxi's face darkened. What you said makes a lot of sense. She stayed silent as she could not say anything more. It started to make more sense to her. She really did have signs of romance misfortunes recently. Even Lu Tingxiao thought it added up. Ningxi looked miserable as she tore at her hair. Pfft. Can it be? Then, what should I do? Master didn't tell me a way how to resolve this. Should I go back and ask? Do you still need to ask the master about this? You should just ask me. The way to resolve this is obviously to find someone to get married to. Then, you wouldn't have romance anymore. Lu Jingli said this matter-of-factly as he stared at his brother's cool expression. He added unmeaningfully, "This is like the legendary adage of killing hundreds of flowers after they blossom." Ning Shi looked awful. "Marriage, hey, doesn't that mean there's no solution then?" "Pfft, Lu Jingli, I actually believed your nonsense." "Who said this was definitely romance misfortune?" Up.to.dfrm no/v/e/lb I n.co/m. This is obviously a peach blossom. If it's not referring to calamity in romance, then what else could it be? Ning Shi shot him an annoyed look. "Can't it be luck in romance?" Lu Jingli laughed and mumbled, "If this meant you have luck in romance, then it would be my brother's misfortune. In fact, it's a life and death kind of misfortune." At that moment, Ning Shi's phone rang, indicating that she had a new message. Ning Shi was still thinking about what the flower meant as she absent-mindedly looked at her phone, and after a look, she almost dropped her phone. Xiao Shi, what's wrong? What just frightened you so much?" Lu Jingli asked weakly. Ning Shi's face had turned pale as if she had just seen a ghost. Lu Tingxiao frowned and looked over too. Ning Shi held her head, feeling lightheaded from the message. She wanted to knock her head against Lu Jingli. This harbinger of doom. "I'm afraid I really must be facing some misfortune in romance now." After a while, Ning Shi forced herself to breathe deeply. She turned to Lu Tingxiao to say, "Big boss, I have an emergency I have to deal with. I might not be able to go home tonight. Can you take care of little treasure for tonight? When will you be back?" Lu Tingxiao asked. Ning Shi did not know what to answer. I'm not sure. If I can be quick, tomorrow morning. If I'm late, it might be the day after tomorrow. Whatever it is, the moment I'm done, I will immediately call to let you know." Then, she hugged the little treasure tightly in her arms. "Baby, Auntie has some things to do and I have to leave for a while. Be good and listen to your father, okay?" Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl protectively. "I'll send you." There's no need. I'll go myself." Ning Shi obviously did not want to say anymore, so she rushed out of the car in a panicked frenzy. Lu Tingxiao watched Ning Shi's silhouette leave with a gaze that became increasingly heavy. What did that message say? I've never seen sister-in-law this afraid. Could it be something dangerous? Lu Jingli sighed, "Too bad, I didn't sneak a peek just now." When he said that, the little bun on the side instantly perked up his ears, then wrote on his board, "Danger?" Lu Jingli quickly thought of something and asked the little bun, "Little treasure, did you see what Auntie Shashi's message said? If you know, you must tell your father and second uncle, because it's very important. I'm worried your Auntie Shaoxi might really be in danger." Little treasure looked at Lu Tingxiao uncertainly. Lu Tingxiao nodded. This time, Lu Jingli had not said nonsense. Ning Shi did leave in an alarm. Once he knew Auntie Shaoxi might be in danger, Little Treasure immediately looked down and started to write. Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli looked over nervously. Little Treasure very quickly wrote the entire message content, "Meet on the rooftop tonight. First senior brother." Whoa! First senior brother and all that. And even planning to meet up on the rooftop. Jesus, it can't really be some misfortune in romance, could it? That's not right. If that was the case, Ning Shi could just not go. Why did she rush over? Lu Jingli felt that something was amiss, but he had no idea what. Just as he was mumbling in suspicion, he looked up to see his brother's face in the rearview mirror. It was at the peak of scariness. It was 1,000 times scarier than when he heard Ning Shi use the seduction trick on Shi Shiqing. He was bottling his emotions in, but it looked like it was ready to explode. Bro, What is it? Is something wrong? Looking at Lu Tingxiao's expression, Lu Jingli felt a little guilty. Lu Tingxiao did not say anything and made a call instead. When Lu Jingli saw the name of the person he was calling, he was shocked. Wow, why did his brother contact Jin Wei for? Could Ningxi really be in danger? Looks like there was only one possibility. First senior brother was a dangerous person. Could it be related to the person they had been investigating recently? U updates tnvel/buy.com. After that, Lu Tingxiao made a second phone call and very quickly, the butler rushed over and took Little Treasure away. As soon as Little Treasure was taken away, Lu Tingxiao immediately floored the accelerator and the car flew like an arrow. Lu Jingli, who was sitting at the back, almost vomited. Oh, bro, your biological brother is still in the car. At the same time, Ningxi tore back to Regal Riviera. When she reached, she did not even swing by home, directly taking the elevator to the highest floor. Then, she climbed up the stairs, pushed open the door and went up to the roof. Tang Ye's message only specified a vague timing of tonight. So she was not sure exactly what time either. Just to be safe, Ningxi had rushed over as early as possible, then she sat on the ground alone with her thoughts. Worry started to build. First senior brother actually came to look for her. The senior who always remained in town with the organization and rarely left actually came to look for her personally in China. That itself was enough to frighten Ningxi. What did the first senior brother come to China for the last time? Right. It was to execute an S-level mission. Then, what about this time? He came a long way here. What was it for? Ningxi waited from dusk till the moon came up. The roof was quiet, not a single movement could be detected. Ningxi was about to suspect that this was a prank. If this message was from second senior brother, it could be a prank. But this was first senior brother, so there was no way she was being fooled. He was really going to come. And so she waited. At the same time, below Ningxi's building in a corner with an unobscured view. A black Maybach was parked quietly not too far away and a small team of armed forces were on standby, ready to attack any time. As night fell, the air seemed to have frozen, everyone's hearts tensed. In the dark corner, Qing Feng's phone suddenly rang. He was in the middle of an important mission and did not want to pick up, but once he saw who was calling, he picked it up. Hello, what's up? Bro Feng, I heard you were on a mission. Why didn't you call me? Shi Shao asked. Xiongji's voice added, and me. 7 sit envelb/n. C/m for L test vels. Obviously, the two of them were together at the moment. Qing Feng pinched the space between his brows. The mission this time is related to Miss Ning. Are you too sure you want to join? There was silence from the other end of the phone. Then, Shi Shao and Xiongji replied at the same time, yes. Qing Feng raised his brows slightly in pleasant surprise. It's good that the both of you have come to understand. However, because of your performance the last time, there is no way the boss would let you two join such missions again. Then what do we do? Shi Zhao's constricted voice questioned. Damn it, protecting the lady boss. Was there a more important mission than this one? Much to their chagrin, they were being excluded. What was the difference from being thrown into the cold cellar? Qing Feng sighed, he knew that he would definitely regret it one day. Bro Feng, help us beg the boss. Xiongji pleaded. Qing Feng looked helplessly and budged a little. I don't have such capabilities, but I can direct you guys to a possible solution. If you want to beg someone, then you should ask for Miss Ning's help. Shi Shao hesitated. Would that work? There's no way she would help us. Xiongji is not too bad, but The last time, he had offended the lady boss horribly. Miss Ning is actually really kind, she's very soft-hearted. If the both of you speak nicely to her, she would agree. I still have something to do here, so I can't talk much, let's leave it at that. Qing Feng was afraid of getting distracted and affecting tonight's mission, so he quickly hung up. He did not want to follow after Shi Xiao and Xiongji's footsteps. He had no idea what huge issue was happening tonight that made the big boss so nervous. At that moment, in Liu Tingxiao's car, the screen in the middle was a live footage of the situation on the rooftop. Because it was infrared surveillance, they had night vision to their advantage. Apart from the slightly dim light, he could still see Ningxi's tensed expression as she lay on the terrace, waiting. Her hair billowed messily in the night wind and a never-before-seen solemnness was etched all over her face. Another 2 hours went by, only another half an hour before it would be 12 midnight. The message content had said tonight, so shouldn't the person they were waiting for make his appearance soon? If the other person actually came. On the rooftop, Ningxi's impatience was running out to the point that she wanted to curse. God damn it! This was really asking for it. Couldn't he have given a more concrete time? Didn't he know that making a girl wait is not very gentlemanlike? Fine. These guys have never thought of her as a girl anyway. The worst thing was that even though First Senior Brother could have contacted her, she had no way of chasing him for time. It was always a one-way contact when it came to First Senior's brother. No phone could reach him and messages sent would not be received by him. Time passed by slowly in minutes and seconds. Ningxi already lost count of the times she checked her watch. She looked down and saw 23:59:53. My God! He didn't flake on her, did he? It was only 7 seconds away from the next day. Even if he rushed over here now, he definitely would not make it. Wasn't First Senior Brother the most punctual person? Tick-tock, tick-tock. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Just as the second hand was going to jump to midnight, a loud roar came from above her. At the same time, there was a tornado of dust eddying around her. Ningxi's first reaction was, Jesus! What the hell? I wore a skirt today. Ningxi used one hand to hold down her skirt, which was flapping wildly in the wind, as she looked up to the sky with squinted eyes. A helicopter landed from the sky and stopped 10 steps away from her. Ningxi was speechless. Haha, this guy was deserving of being the First Senior Brother, he really was punctual to the dot. Visit en Velben, cm for EU ovals. Below. In the black Maybach, Lu Jingli's eyes widened. Whoa! I kept looking on the road but he actually came from the sky. Liu Tingxiao picked up the wireless walkie-talkie without a change in his expression and ordered everyone to be on standby. On the rooftop. The propeller circled several times before it finally came to a slow stop. The air regained its silence and the dust settled. Ningxi released the edges of her skirt. Behind the helicopter was a huge lamp, which seemed to glare so much that she almost could not open her eyes. She could only vaguely see a clear shadow disembark from the helicopter, then walk towards her. Even though it was only 10 steps away, every step was like a thud on her heart, making her tremble with fear. She could not guess the First Senior Brother's motives at all and that made her afraid. All she knew was that if Tang Yi was making a move by himself, then it must be an extremely serious and sticky matter. Ningxi's gaze sharpened as she tried her best to prepare for anything that might occur, even expecting the worst. Finally, the man was only 5 steps away from her. Because he was so close now, Ningxi could finally see his face clearly. He wore his signature gold-framed spectacles and looked proper and polite. However, just as one might be deceived by this facade, thinking he is a vulnerable scholar, one would pay the highest price. Just seeing that pair of spectacles made Ningxi terrified, so much so that her calves and belly shuddered. This time it must be over. The first senior brother wasn't here to wipe her off the face of earth, was he? For the past 1 year, she was busy with shooting films, so she did not have time to practice her skills at all. The last time she had only managed to execute third senior sister's 100 moves. Even then, that was not accurate. Among all, her skills were already the worst. Even if she practiced, she would not be able to compare to first senior brother's single finger. Her combat capabilities and his were too different. 5 steps, 4 steps, 3 steps. Ningxi was already considering to immediately escape or just kneel to beg. That way, her chances of survival would be much higher. Finally, just as she was hesitating, Tang Yi was already standing in front of her. She had lost the chance to run away, leaving only the option to kneel down and beg now. Across her, the light danced across Tang Yi's spectacle. Little junior sister, long time no see. The dropping of the pearls on the jade container made a clear, soothing sound. But to Ningxi, they sounded as if they were voices straight from hell. Ningxi took a deep breath and faced him face on, unable to keep herself calm, so she tried to play it cool. It's been a long time indeed. First senior brother, why are you here? For some reason, Tang Yi's face darkened upon hearing Ningxi's question. Ningxi was even more convicted of her prediction after she saw Tang Yi's expression change. After a short silence, Tang Yi said slowly, S-class mission. Ningxi's face went pale. As she had expected, she probably would not live past that day. Had it been a year ago, it would not matter. Even if she was surrounded by a bunch of girls and she had to die in the next second, she would have regretted nothing. But now, she had her dreams, her career, her friends, Little Treasure, and also Lu Tingxiao. Dying was definitely not on her to-do list. Not anytime soon. Particularly when she thought about Little Treasure who was waiting for her at home, her desire to live grew even stronger. First senior brother, are you really doing this to me, to someone of the same clan? Ningxi tried to convince him. Tang Yi's eyebrows shot up as he remained silent and raised his hand. Just as Ningxi was going through that nerve-wracking moment, 2 men came down from the helicopter upon Tang Yi's signal. Ningxi frowned. What was happening? Did that beast overestimate her? Did he send not just first senior brother here, but even helpers to finish someone like her? 7 sit envelb/n, c/m for L test vels. Sweat broke out all over Ningxi's forehead. She knew that it was useless to try convincing him anymore, so she started formulating a plan. At such a long distance, her chances of failing were high, but she still had to try. As Tang Yi turned around to look at the 2 men, Ningxi swiftly bolted towards the exit. Before she could extend her legs into her 3rd step, she felt something fall over her and then tighten around her waist. She looked down to see a noose tied around her, and before she knew it, she was yanked back to where she stood before. She rolled onto the floor and they soon bound her up in rope. First senior brother was really getting better at tying people up. At the same time on the lower floor, Lu Tingxiao saw bound Ningxi from the monitor screen, his finger anxiously hovering over the button of his communication device, preparing to issue the order anytime. Lu Jingli ground his teeth in heightened nervousness. This guy on the rooftop was extremely bad news. Despite wearing a pair of glasses and looking so dapper, he had cruel intentions. Ningxi looked at Tang Yi, who was holding the rope that bound her. First senior brother, aren't you overestimating me? Surely all of this is wasting too much resources to send you just to deal with someone like me. Tang Yi did not say anything and looked at her with a terrifying gaze. The two men beside him each held a long rectangular box and a palm-sized box. Tang Yi pushed up his sleeves and opened the boxes to check their contents. The light was too glaring for Ningxi to see the content of the boxes. She could only guess that there was some sort of weapon inside. After closely examining the contents, Tang Yi took the small box and retrieved something from the larger box, then walked towards her. Although Ningxi was not good at combat, she was an expert in escaping and she was already freeing herself as Tang Yi walked towards her. As she was about to break free, she suddenly froze. That was when she saw them. Neither a gun nor a knife. Not even any kind of weapon either. It was the largest bouquet of red roses she had ever seen. The roses still had water dew on them, as if they were freshly picked and put together, creating a perfectly round bunch of velvety red flowers. Ningxi blinked and blinked again. She thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. Was this his latest weapon? The master had said before that at the pinnacle, one would not require a weapon anymore. Even if it was just a branch, a leaf, or even a single petal, you could still use it to maim and kill. Within just a year, First Brother Senior was already at this level? Amazing! First Senior Brother, when did your assassination skills get this good? Ningxi asked in despair, giving up on her plan to resist. Everything was futile in front of the true wielders of strength. All that was left waiting for her was death. Tang Yi started advancing nearer to her. He lowered himself and knelt down on one knee. Ningxi felt awkward as she saw Tang Yi kneel down on one knee with a bouquet of roses in his hands. She did not know how to react. Question marks were written all over her face. First Senior Brother, is this your new stance? That's quite refreshing. First Senior Brother, let's calm down and talk. What do I need to do to have you spare my life? Master, Second Senior Brother, and Third Senior Sister cared about me so much, they would never forgive you. Ningxi had no idea what she was talking about as she rattled on, trying to drag out what she thought were the last few minutes of her life. Tang Yi glanced at her and then opened the small box in the midst of her blabbering. A huge diamond ring was in the box, shimmering in all its glory from the reflection of the strong backlight. Ningxi shut her eyes to shield them from the intense glare. She felt her heartbeat pick up even faster as she questioned, "Wow. Is this some sort of new weapon? Marry me." Ningxi was speechless. Everything, including the air, stopped moving. She swore that even her heart stopped beating that moment as her mind went blank. But she was not alone. Lu Tingxiao had already pressed the button, then he saw the man kneel in front of her and he clearly lip-read what the man had said, "Marry me." Both Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli were shocked and speechless. Lu Jingli said with a stoic face, "I feel like my knowledge and experience is being remodeled every day ever since I met sister-in-law. How exciting." "Boss, your orders please." "Boss. Boss?" Anxious voices called through the communication device. Your favorite ovals at n/vl/bin. Calm. The boss was not sure what just happened as well. There was no reply. Ningxi was dumbfounded by Tang Yi's shocker. First Senior Brother, are you too bored from honing your skills? She could not believe what was happening to her right now. But deep down, she knew that it was a fact. First Senior Brother was proposing to her. Which was even more shocking than First Senior Brother trying to kill her. Tang Yi ignored Ningxi's shocked expression and remained solemn. He then took a pink paper out and read it aloud in an emotionless, robotic tone, "I'm willing to let you have my heart and my everything, but please spare me my eyes, for they enabled me to see you. There is nothing in me that isn't conquered by you. You took the life of every part of me and brought along their death. If I still need to lose something else, please take it, but please spare my eyes, as they enabled me to see you. Ningxi was confused. He sounded so odd. The tone of the poem sounded familiar. Could he have adopted the principle and culture of the company to write this? Could first senior brother have been pranked by someone? 1,000 possibilities flowed through Ningxi's mind. First senior brother, may I know if this is a marriage proposal? Yes. Ningxi frowned and looked lost. Tang Yi then quickly added, on behalf of Satan. Ningxi was alarmed. She knew it. Ningxi took a deep breath, her chest rising up and down. Don't tell me. Your so-called S-rank mission is to come here and propose to me in place of him? Yes. Damn it, where is my knife? Get me a knife. I'm going to kill him. Your reply, please. She had been scared to death, yet he still insisted for a reply? Ningxi could not stand it anymore, anger starting to bubble from the pits of her stomach. First senior brother, are you sure you're proposing and not torturing me? And what makes you think that you can substitute someone for a proposal? Ridiculous. Your reply please, Tang Yi repeated like a robot that was directed. I refuse. Ningxi loosened herself from the rope at that moment. Up-to-date OVLS on OVL bin.cm. Reason, Tang Yi stated. Ningxi exploded, damn it. You made me wait a whole night and scared the soul out of me, then you tie me up and propose? I've never seen such a special proposal before. Now, you dare to ask me for my reason of refusal? She saw Tang Yi click a pen after she finished her lecture. He had even brought a voice recording pen. Ningxi's mouth twitched as she forcefully grabbed it from him and pressed on the recording button. She roared at it, no girl would ever like you and your stupidly low EQ. You can stay single forever. She felt slightly relieved after that. But then, she saw something that turned her blood cold. Tang Yi handed over the flowers and diamond rings to the two men, then he raised his hands and slowly took off his gold-framed glasses. Ningxi's heart leapt into her throat as she backed away in fear. First senior brother, we can talk, you don't need to take off your glasses. Well truckers, that all for this part, see you all in the next video.